it to them, and then they never gave it back to me, and I never put another one in.
Is it?
It might be.
Ah, we ready? Okay. All right, we're live. So, all right. Want to give us some quiet, guys, so we can start. All right. I want to welcome everyone to the Wareham Zoning Board of Appeals for Wareham, Town of Wareham. It's nice to be back in person. And tonight it's Wednesday, April 13, 2022, and it is 6:33 p.m. And we are at the room 320 at the Multi-Service Center. We also have what you call a hybrid meeting, so we're also online for people to participate. I'm going to call the meeting to order. My far left, alternate member, Mr. Troy Larson, he'll be voting throughout the night for Mr. Morrison's seat. Our regular member, Rich Semple. Myself, the chair, Nazi El-Kulasi. To my right, Mr. Jim Akabachi, our clerk, and regular member, Veronica Devenese. We're gonna go quick to preliminary business for Settlers Glen. Somebody here from Settlers Glen? I guess not.
I've got a whole stack of Settlers Glen here. Maybe they're out in the hall. Jillian, would you see if any, that would be nice of her.
Thank you.
She's here as much as we are.
Is he online?
Settlers Glen, see if there's anybody online from Settlers Glen.
O'Brien?
Could be O'Brien. Some of them raise their hand or raise their hand. Some of them are yelling, I'm here, and they're muted and they don't know it.
Just say to the mic if there's anybody here for that to raise their hand.
All right, is there anyone for Settlers Glen online or in the audience? On the. All right, just let's hear it.
You have a raised hand?
Yep, I'm letting them in now.
Okay.
Need to unmute themselves.
Glad we found them.
Take two. All right.
Jimmy, do you have the agenda?
Thank you. The one that was, you didn't get one in your folder?
I just looked at the date and thought that that's not the date. This is it.
That's all right, that's what I'm here for.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, this is Rob Pellegrini. I couldn't quite hear. Is it CNS Home Solutions?
No, it's Settlers Glen.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anyone here for Settlers?
Move that we table this and call it again at the very end of the list.
Okay, will do.
You guys can keep your little handouts for now if you want.
All right, we go with the continued public hearing on 2-22 CNS Home Solution for special permit 459 Main Street. All right, now it's CNS Solution. Who's here from that? CNS Home Solution?
Is that online too?
This is Rob Pellegrini. I was the attorney representing them originally back in February.
We'll listen to an attorney.
Okay. And what do you like to do? You want to continue it?
No, actually, we were continued because Chairperson D. Benice wanted us to get COMCOM approval before we came back. So we have done that. That's all taken care of. So what we're hoping to do is proceed now with the ZBA to sort of wrap it up. I can give a quick reintroduction of what they were looking to do if you would like, since it's been a little while. But if everybody recalls what we were doing then, the one issue was she was concerned about wetlands that are in the rear.
Before we continue, sir, I just need your name for the record. Just your name.
Oh, sorry. Robert Pellegrini.
And you are the attorney?
Yes.
Okay, just for the record, I wasn't here on that matter, so you have 4 board members. Would you like to continue with 4 board members, or you want to wait for Mr. Morrison to come in for next hearing? You have the right to continue it and to be heard with 5 members.
I think that we should be okay with 4.
Okay. All right, so go ahead, just fill us back in and let's, all
We'll take one and give it to,
right, go ahead, keep going.
What we were doing before, we were coming to you for this property on 459 Main Street. It's in the WV1 zone, and we were before you because we received a letter saying that we needed to do that because Article 3, Section 320 requires a special permit from the ZBA with anything over 4 families. There's currently 4 there now. What the proposal was to do is just to add 1 more on the first level. It's a one bedroom only. And really what we were explaining to the board at that time is one of the huge pluses here is there's currently only 4 parking locations, which you can see on that plan before you now. If I can share my screen with you, if I could do that, I can show you the latest plan. If there's some way for me to do that, I'm happy to do that. That's would show you the plan that came out of the Concom meetings.
Would you like to see that? I can promote him to panelist.
No,
Would I be
we
able to do
have
that?
that in front of us.
Okay, great. So
With the 10 parking spaces, right?
yes, it's actually 9. So it actually brings us up to
It's 9.5.
Conforming. And the main issue that was addressed during those meetings is there was a concern again for those wetlands in the back, and what ended up coming out of that is a swale was created with the ability to monitor that and to clean it out when and as needed as well. So generally speaking, we were sort of explaining to the board at the time, and I think we were there actually on this, that because of that issue and coming up to the correct number that's required for parking, that we kind of felt as if we could make an honest argument that it was actually benefiting the neighborhood, that it's an appropriate location. Because we're doing it inside, there's no exterior, there's no additions required to the building, that we kind of felt that overall it would be viewed as a positive for the neighborhood as well. One other thing came up at Concom is currently the street water sort of drains through the property, and that's being handled as well by just increasing the elevations when going from the street into the parking lot. So all in all, we kind of felt that it was a plus for the neighborhood. There aren't any exterior changes to the structure at all. It's just adding the parking.
Okay. It's definitely the bylaw allows you to have 5 units. The only thing, when you have 10 parking spaces, you need site plan review. Did you do stormwater management? Did you do the drainage design, water design, all these things?
It was actually recommended to us that we just go with 9 for that reason. So I'm not sure why the plan that you have in front of you has 10. That might have been a previous plan, but the one that was the final plan that got approved by Concom has 9. And because the new unit is only one bedroom, we were told by the building official that really 9 is all that we would need there. It actually turns out to be 9.5, which actually rounds down to 9.
Okay, but I want to pass the board member, I believe Veronica, you want it
Sure.
9.5, you figure it's 10, which makes sense.
It,
I mean,
it does to me.
all right, Jim, what do you think?
I don't have a problem calling it 9. I don't have a problem with this whole
Troy.
proposal.
Well, I mean, it's not in this particular proposal that we have, but, I mean, if it's 9, I don't have an issue with it.
The law says 9.5, you want to round it to 9,
I would say
Jim?
9.
I'm
Right.
just saying we had a discussion that we were agreeing that 9 would be fine.
Okay, this is the problem tonight, you have one person saying no, and it'll be lost, so,
So, if I can?
yeah, go ahead.
So my issue, as I had stated at the last meeting, is the wetlands that are right abutting the property at the back. And if you drive by there, you can see that it's right on the grass where you're proposing to put that parking. You mentioned something about doing some changes to the front, which is going to take care of that somewhat, because right now, the water is draining down into that area. And I wasn't clear on how is that gonna be improved with you putting the parking lot there? Because if you can improve the current situation, I'm fine with 9, but I need to see an
Yeah.
improvement.
So I think the problem is, for some reason, you're seeing kind of an old plan. We would really need to show you the new one. What came out of those meetings is there's now a swale area protected by a pea gravel, a diaphragm area, which is well beyond me to explain why that works, but it was agreed to between the engineer and the actual agent. So that is actually shown in detail on the new plan. So I really feel like if there's any way that I can share my screen, great. If there isn't, I think we should come back to you with the printed plan so you can see that, because there's no way that you can see how we've made those changes to sort of directly address your concerns that you brought up last month. So if I can share my screen, wonderful. If I can't, I would ask to continue this to your next hearing.
And you don't know how, you don't,
I can do that.
you can.
All right, well, while he's doing the screen,
Just tell him he needs to accept the invite to become a panelist.
He's gonna send you an invite to share your screen. When that comes through, you accept it and you'll be able to share.
Okay.
all right, while you're doing this, in order to go from 9.5 to 9, we're gonna need a variance for that, so either you gotta come back with a variance application, or if we continue the way we're doing it, I believe Mrs. Devenese is gonna say no, and it's gonna be lost, so it's totally up to you. I can't vote on this one because I wasn't here when the hearing was open, so I can't sit on it. So
I actually, somebody sent me that invite, but I was staring at the wrong screen. If that person can do it again, sorry about that. Okay, so join us again.
So while you're doing it, I do agree with Ms. Debenese. It's gotta be some sort of drainage, something. You add in few parking spaces, and adding to this, it's gonna run right down that hill, because it looks like you have 10 feet difference in less than 100 feet, in like 80 feet, 10 feet drop. That's a dramatic drop. It's gonna need some sort of drainage. Then again,
Okay, so-
that's my opinion, so, but, like I said, if you wanna go forward.
No, I can see that, this is a serious issue, so I think what would be wise is if we just ask to continue it. I think it'd be a lot easier if we could show you the plans when we're there in the room, and show you what was done and approved by Concom. Without being able to really do that, there's really no way I can,
All right, that's a good idea, but regardless what Concom approved, that has nothing to do with our board. But
Yeah.
this is better if you come the next hearing, and this way Mr. Morrison will be here, then you have a 5 board member, and gives you more chance, because you need 4 out of 5, or 4 out of 4 right now. It doesn't seem you're gonna get it, so let's make a
agree.
move.
I
So-
had the owner of the property just joined in.
Okay, before I go to the owner, does anyone in the audience here wanna speak on that matter? I hear none. Yeah, go ahead, can you put him through?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, great. So just so I understand, so we're unable to show the engineered plans that we presented at Concom right now, right? Is that the issue? Because there was 2 main parts that there was a concern with originally. I understand that the parking space going into the wetland was brought up by one of the board members, which kind of moved us toward the direction of Concom, which we were happy to do. So as part of our engineering plans, we did make improvement at adding that trap at the bottom of the hill. And in addition to that, is essentially, they called it a bump, or basically a slight elevation at the entry of the parking lot, which actually improved, again, the neighborhood as there is no current elevation there. So that's gonna deter the water to go back into Main Street. So you have a coupling of a couple things. You have from 4 spaces to 9.5, which is obviously better for the Main Street parking, which is a ton of parking there anyway. And there's not much parking there anyway, so a lot of people are parking on the streets. So now, when we went to Concom and added that additional, basically catch at the bottom of the driveway, it improved that. So one of the members of Concom basically said, yeah, as long as the maintenance schedule, this is great. So I guess what exactly is is it just the fact that we can't share the new plans where we're suggested to go to continue to the next?
Well,
I gave him permission to share this.
what they're explaining is because there's only 4 people there that can vote on this,
Yeah.
we would need all of them, and they're bringing up points. I mean, one major issue is the chairman wasn't at our original meeting.
Mhm.
So, he's not seen this previously, and my feeling was that we could explain this a lot easier if we were in the room showing him the plan, and then the engineer can explain to them exactly what he did and how it's protecting the wetlands, which is really the reason why we were continued.
Okay, so yeah, let's just do that then. I'd rather have us involved in the room, and I'll get Greg from out back there to also educate what he did to alleviate the original member's concern. So yeah, that's fine.
So I just want to be clear on something so you don't come back with not the information that the chairman and was trying to relay. The parking has to at least be for 9.5. It cannot be for 9. So if Concom has approved it for 9 and not 9.5, you need to go to 9.5 or you will require a variance.
Sir, we have a board member that believes 9.5 is 10 parking spaces. The rest of the board members right now they say 9.5 is 9. If the 5th member comes in next time and agree with the 3 people that saying yes 9, you're in good shape. If they don't, you're in trouble. Well, you're not in trouble, but you'll be denied. So this,
Or he'd be required to do a site plan review.
or you'll be required a site plan review. Or if you don't want to do site plan review, then you'll be required to do a variance if the other member says no. So these are your options. Your attorney will explain it to you, and I guess we'll see you next time. on the 27. Okay, can we have a motion?
Motion to continue to the 27th.
I have a motion by Jim, do I have a second?
So moved.
Okay, I have a
Second.
Okay,
Excuse me,
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a second by Rich. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we'll see you on the 27. Okay,
Could I have the papers back, please? Yeah. Thank you.
all right, we're gonna move to 7-22 RJ Morrow. And that is, okay, RJ Morrow, and that is 21 Old Glen Charlie Road.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, public hearing still open. Mr. Larson will be sitting on Mr. Morrison's chair. He attended all these meetings. Just your name and address for the record, and we continue.
Good evening, Brad Bertolo with JC Engineering.
Russell Amato, 5 Commercial Drive, Lakeville, Mass.
Okay. All right, Brad, where did we leave it last time?
Just getting ready here. All right, it's been I think a good month since we've been in front of the board here.
Here's a plan.
To briefly recap the
You guys might want.
project. This project is located in the Strip Commercial Zoning District. We are proposing to construct 4 total units within 2 duplexes for a total of 6 units on the property. This is considered other residential use in accordance to the bylaw. Minimum lot area needs to be 20,000 square feet. The minimum frontage needs to be 250 linear feet. We all meet those zoning requirements to allow for other residential use to be proposed on this property. At the last hearing, there was concerns regarding the density, and I can only refer back to how this town has set precedent on prior projects. A similar project down the street in Cranberry Highway had a very similar situation. A letter was issued by the building commissioner, and it was stated by the building commissioner that other residential use in this specific zone was 30,000 square feet. There was no unit count required, no per dwelling unit, not per additional unit. It was 30,000 square feet. In this case, in the strip commercial, we are 20,000 is what the project states. Again, we are proposing 2 duplexes that'll be serviced by a single driveway. We're providing 8 new parking spaces, 2 per dwelling unit. The site is serviced by, or will be serviced by town water. The existing duplexes serviced by town water. The proposed structures will be serviced by individual septic systems, which will meet the Wareham Water Quality Bylaw with alternative treatment. We also providing street drainage to capture surface water runoff. Currently, right now, there's no drainage within the existing driveway, gravel driveway. And with the completion of a paved driveway and added catch basin and subsurface infiltration area, that'll greatly diminish the amount of surface water runoff heading into Old Glen Charlie Road. So I think the question that we need to discuss tonight is the density of the project, because that's what needs to be clarified. And that's how the town has followed the bylaw in the past. It's how it was discussed before we filed any project with this board or started any design work on this plan. We met with town planner and the building commissioner, and we're following what the zoning bylaw states. Minimum 20,000 square feet for the lot, 250 feet of frontage, and there's no cap on the density. So what we're proposing is, again, 2 duplexes. I think at this time, I'll turn it back to the board to discuss that and determine
Okay.
how to proceed.
Well, I did look at the other plan, that was Spring Street, and that permit, with all due respect to the planning board, that's defective permit, because I do have here the 2019, it does have the asterisk with 2, which is require each additional unit 30,000 R30. Now, how they gave you this approval, I don't know, but that's the planning board.
That bylaw changed at the same time. So they changed that. The zoning bylaws in effect in 2017 did not include that. They did go to town meeting to change that, and it was either fall, I think fall 2017, or either spring 2018, where the bylaws were adjusted to include per additional unit. It's not the case. So the situation that we're presented tonight, the bylaw as written mimics what was written before, and that's how that project proceeded. And that we're under the same assumption that that's how it's read, it's how it's interpreted, and that's how it's been
Why
permitted
don't
in
you
the
go to
past.
planning board? Why do you come in here?
Because
It's existing?
It's the zoning.
special permit for this use in this zone is zoning board of appeals.
No, because for an existing, if you add into an existing structure, you need zoning. Because a new structure, you don't need, you need
Yeah, but
planning
they
board.
got existing, they got this two-family out front already, that's the
Right.
existing.
That's existing
That's
if you
ev-
add into it.
There's only
Oh, okay.
one area in the zoning table, the use table, where a special permit is issued by the planning board in that situation. For most other residential uses where multifamily is involved, the permitting authority is this board.
Okay, we're not gonna argue who's the special authority, but it's a typographical error, and I'm not buying it. I personally am not gonna agree with it. When you tell someone you need 45,000 square feet for 2 units, and if you have 20,000, you could put 5 units or 10 units. So if the neighbors, anyone who has 22, 23,000 square feet, they could come for 4, 5, 6 units, whatever they could fit. That's what you're saying.
Yes. But they have to meet other bylaw, 250 feet of
I
frontage.
understand.
Yep.
So if
But
somebody
that's
has that
how it's written,
frontage,
and
In that
that's,
zoning, yes, it's only our side of the street. The other side does not have that zoning.
because they in the residential, you in the commercial, I understand.
Yes.
I believe, and I'm strongly believe, it's a typographical error. You could convince,
I believe that there's a typo, and I also believe there's an interpretation, there's an error in interpretation by the commissioner.
but I wanna, let's see the board, this is just my opinion.
One moment, can I speak?
Yes.
With all due respect, it's neither here nor there whether it's a typographical error or, the way you determine it is an opinion. The way it's written is the way it's written and determined by law.
Right.
So I'm in front of you guys here to avoid other,
Come to a red light, and you decide to go green, if you come to a stop sign, a light, and the light is broken, and it's green the other way, somebody's still gonna end up dead.
What's
Doesn't
broken?
mean that maybe nobody was wrong, but somebody's
I
still
don't
dead.
understand the analogy. We're talking about real estate law here.
Right, okay, let,
Then I can tell you right now, my decision is going to be that above the two-family that you've already got, you're entitled to one more unit. I'll vote with that in my mind. You, again, you want to refer to law, you can appeal the decision, but you know how my vote's
I'd
going.
rather not appeal. I'd rather talk this out. There's many other uses that could be in the neighborhood in this zoning. I feel that this is the best use for the neighborhood. It's a two-family because of the aesthetically pleasing way that a two-family fits the neighborhood. Instead of putting in 6 units or 10 units into an existing building, this was the best we could come up with. There's been a lot of planning involved, and
I totally understand, and you're doing a good job with the planning. I wanna run it by the board, let's see what they hear, and what they're gonna say, and we go from there. Veronica?
I'm in agreement in that I think that the additional buildings in that small area doesn't fit well, and I do think it's detrimental to that area, just the way it will all be squeezed together, so whether, to me, that special permit is decided by detriment, and so that's how I'm feeling about it at this point.
We could run the buildings around the corner behind the neighbor's house. We only put in the hay bales there just to make it work this way because we felt it was best. There is more square
There's a lot of
footage to
space in this
use.
property we're not
Yeah,
utilizing.
I do
So I
believe-
don't think the question right now is the
It's-
special permit, it's the density and the reading of the table, Article 6. That's what is,
That's what
needs
is
to be
for us.
clarified.
Right.
We can move into the special permit and that aspect after. It's the interpretation of 20,000 square feet, and that's
Right.
how it's been permitted in the past and followed. And it's not a recent change. This has been like this for a long time. We're not trying to sneak in here on
No, I'm
a
not-
quick change that was a mistake. This has been on this for many years, well over 10 years. And again, as Mr. Motto said, we have a lot of by right uses that can go in this property. That are by right, I don't need zoning board of appeals, don't need planning board, and I could just run through a few, a motel, hotel, wholesale, neighborhood convenience store. This is a commercial
Right, right.
district.
I totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
I agree too, and that's good to know that they have options and we're not harming them. if we
Squeezing them,
deny
yeah.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Troy, what do you think?
I'm kind of on the same page with all of you.
Richard?
You know where I stand. I think I made it clear before that I think it's too dense for the neighborhood. It's just a detriment. It's just, the traffic's gonna increase by a ton. I'm still not sure about the way the water's gonna run off, if it's gonna be held right. I mean, I looked through that plan. I'd like to say that I don't have any kind of an idea if it could be handled, or if it can't. But I just see after it's all built, next thing you know, everything's washing down, the neighbors are having problems, and it all looked good on paper. That's my concern, so.
There'll
But I
be no
think it's
wash-
the, I
no
think it's the
washing.
density, I think it's the density is my main concern there.
I have proposal. If the neighbors are okay with it, if you do the site plan, the site work, I am willing to give a variance for 1 unit, so give you a duplex. By right, don't shake your head, let me finish. You could go right now without a site plan, without drainage, just to all the neighbors know. He could just build a house, just regular permit. He doesn't need to do a driveway, he doesn't have to do drainage, no, nothing, no improvement. I am willing to entertain, if the neighbor's okay, if he does this site plan with the drainage and everything, to give him a duplex or a variance for 1 unit. Again, this is my opinion, we'll ask
Say
the
1
board.
unit, you mean?
Addition,
One
duplex.
building, 2 units.
Right, so he'll have an extra 1 unit. He's allowed 3 by right. According to our interpretation, he'll have 4 units. I could, personally, I'll entertain this if you would like that, but I want to pass it by the neighbors, because for me, it's a variance. If the board, people gonna say no, I have a problem with this. If you want to do FAR variance, setbacks, I have no problem with these
Can I
things.
speak to that for 1 minute, please,
Yeah,
Mr.
go
Chairman?
ahead.
You can also interpret the bylaw if 20,000 is not, like, we'll go in there and do an entire commercial building that has 10 units underneath the 20,000. If it's 20,000 per unit, there is an existing two-family there. But if there's 20,000 per unit, then 4 would naturally fall underneath the 81,700 that's already there.
You have 80,000?
81?
81 and change.
Right.
I was going to mention that, yes, you are interpreting it your way, 20 per additional. Doesn't say that, but that's your interpretation. You could interpret it another way, 20 per unit. That would give you 4 by right, no variance.
No, because you
Ev-
got 45 for the first one.
So again, it's a different interpretation. You're interpreting your way, it doesn't state that. It's your
All right,
interpretation.
hold on.
Those two
That's
could
not-
be added to the existing, and
Time
then,
out.
and then there's no...
Time out. Every district in town, say you in Wareham Village, say Wareham Village 1. The first, if you have 10,000, you could do either 1 or 2 units, 1 or 2 family. You could do in 7,500 square feet. If you want to add multifamily, the first one you need 10,000, and each additional you need 2,000 square feet. And MR 30, the first unit need 30,000, 150 feet of frontage. If you want to do duplex, you need 200 feet of frontage, 45,000. If you wanna do 3 units, you need 30,000, 200 feet, and another 40, according to the bylaw, without the asterisks.
Since 2019, but prior to that, when Spring Street was brought in front of the planning board, the time of the bylaw was read the way that the way that commercial strip is written today. So our time of filing is the same as Spring Street's time of filing, per bylaw, without the asterisk.
Let me
Asterisk.
explain something to you. I've been building this town for 30 years.
I know that.
Okay, if that law you're saying is legit, and the planning board, for some reason, I don't know why they gave that plan, I would have had 200 extra houses in Wareham if that law exists. It's very clear when you do an MR 30 or 30, when you wanna do 5 units, you have to demonstrate on a Form C. So Form C subdivision, you were in the planning board, weren't you?
Yes,
So
I
you know
was.
what Form C is?
do.
You have to demonstrate in Form C that you could get 5 units with the drainage, with the road, with the circle in the middle for 150 feet, and then you're allowed to consolidate them in 5 duplexes, 5 apartments, 1 building with 5 units, but you have to demonstrate in a regular Form C, not an A and R, Form C.
This is not a subdivision.
Yeah, this is,
Right, but that's how you demonstrate to come
On a
up with
subdivision, you
unit.
demonstrate that
Yeah.
way. This is by right commercial.
yeah, this is, you're referencing bylaws that, yes, they're clearly written in the zoning use and the
All right,
density. It's not in the strip commercial, but,
Okay, this is, I guess.
We just
five-
don't agree.
Yeah, we're not agreeing.
all right.
So this is my offer with another unit, so 1 more duplex if you do the site plan. I want to pass it by Veronica, see what she thinks, before I go to the public.
I'm fine with that.
Jim?
Yeah, if they were coming for one single, for 2 more units, 1 building.
And do the drainage.
duplex, You know, a total of 4 rentals on the entire property, however you want to say
If they do
it.
the drainage. Troy?
I agree.
Rich?
I agree.
All right, before we go to you, let's go to the public. Who wants to speak in favor of this project? In favor first. I see none. Against? Or any opinion?
Any hands on the Zoom?
Not yet.
All right, let them speak.
You have to invite them in there.
Hello?
Yes, we hear you.
Hi. I am the neighbor right next door to Russ Motto. I am 23 Old Glen Charlie Road.
I need your name too.
Cheryl Schubert.
Yep.
My concern is of even if the 1 building, but the 2 families go in, is the road is small. It's gonna be a lot more traffic. Is there gonna be enough room for emergency vehicles to get in? And drainage and other issues that have come up with other parts of the plan that he has proposed. It's just that it's gonna be not the best thing for our road, construction-wise, people-wise. I just don't feel like it should be done. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in, that's how I feel.
Thank
Just
you.
letting you
Thank
know.
you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Yep.
Thank you, man.
Any other hands up on Zoom?
Was there
I see somebody standing in the back. You want to come up and identify yourself?
You could sit on that table with that mic.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can come over here and be Mr. Rowley if you want.
Just flip that sign.
You have
if you
to
know.
tell your own name. You can't use Charlie's name. You don't look anything like him.
My name is Hege Lizaralda.
Is there a light on that microphone?
I think it's on.
There's a light on.
Just bring it closer to you, Ma. It has to be on public records.
Okay. Hege Lizaralda. I live at 17 Old Glen Charlie Road, so our property is also next door to this property. And we just think it would be too dense. It would not be attractive at all for our property. It would be very close, and we also are concerned about traffic. We're concerned about bringing in people that are kind of renting for temporary, there might be a high turnover situation. So that's one of the things that we're concerned about.
I totally understand. I do understand what you're saying, but if they go for 6, if they get granted, or 4 units, it's not that much traffic if you think about it. But that's besides the point. That's not what we're arguing tonight. But I do have your point. I wouldn't want you to be scared of traffic.
No,
for
this is
for
Old Glen
Well,
County Road.
it's,
Right, but if you think about it, if they put a business, like store or a garage or anything, just think how much more traffic it'll be.
it wouldn't make any sense to have a store there
Oh,
because
it's
it's a
zoned
dead
for it.
end.
It's an allowed use.
It's a
That's the
dead
point-
end.
That's the point that the applicant's trying to make to the neighborhood and to this board, that there are more intense uses that they're entitled to. They're trying to do a less intense use for the site, and the board is actually trying to modify that down a little bit and keep it a residential area, but they have, by right, commercial uses that they can put there that would be much more intensive than what they're proposing.
Would you be okay with 4 units?
You mean for new
So,
units?
no, two new ones.
Not really.
Okay, so he could go out and do 1 unit, start in a week, get a permit, add 1 unit by right. But if we ask him and he agrees to, we give him another unit and he do the drainage, the driveway, make it nice with the landscaping and that, would you be okay with that?
No.
No? Okay, thank you.
Could I just say thanks for coming in? I know that you guys do a lot for the environment, you're environmentalists, I appreciate what you do. But I have to revoke my license that I gave you when you moved in to walk your dog on my property in the back. I just have to do it since you're trying to deny my project.
Well, we don't have any dogs.
All right, this is not what we're here for tonight. Thank you. All right, so why don't we continue this and you guys think about it? Because I guess you don't want to hear a vote tonight. Think
No,
about it.
We would have come up with an alternative that we can present.
Do you want to come back on the 27th, think about it, see what you want to make?
That's fine.
Consult with an attorney maybe?
Yep.
All right,
Make a
see
motion to
your
continue
option.
to the 27th, is it the 27th?
27. All right, so we need a motion to continue 722 RJ model till the 27. Do I have a motion for that?
I already made the motion. and we
Oh,
took it
I'll
back.
sorry.
second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Jim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Veronica. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, and then we'll see you on 27. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you
again for
very
your time.
much.
Thank you very much.
You too. Good night. 5-0.
All right. So this one,
Okay, I think we're
21.
up for 822, Sergi, I think, next. Can I have these back when you
Yeah.
guys are done with
For
them?
the public hearing, so you can get ready, 8-22, David Surgery, site plan review, 8 and 10, 10 Charles Pond Road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Veronica, we made a real mess of this folder for you, give you something to do.
You mean Sonia?
Veronica or Sonia?
Veronica, I'm sorry. No, you can clean it. Sonia will love you for
I
it.
was like, she doesn't want me touching it.
Thank you.
Sorry. It's got my two words twisted. I meant Sonia, yes. That's everything from this folder? I can put
believe so,
a rubber
sir.
band around it and... And this one needs to be read in, doesn't it?
Yes, I think so.
These guys came loaded for bear. Look at the size of this file.
Always find the pink.
Aren't we making some changes to the requirements in the file?
Yeah, take two, they're small.
I think we are. I don't know if they've already taken effect.
Really?
or-
All right.
Can't make it No, I won't be. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on April 13th, 2022, at 6:30 PM in room 320 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition 822 for a use variance from the principal use regulations of Article 3, Table 320, a variance from the landscape buffer requirements of Article 10, Section 1042, and site plan review from the site plan review requirements of Article 15, Section 1520, under the Wareham zoning bylaws to David Sergi of 21 Patterson Road, Suite G, Wareham, Mass. 02576, seeking to construct a 6,050 square foot metal building comprising of a 1,250 square foot office area and a 4,800 square foot contractor garage for vehicle and equipment storage at 8 and 10 Charge Pond Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571. This appears on Wareham Assessors Map 110, Lot 1035, and Lot 1076 in the CG and R60 zoning districts.
All right, name and address.
Hi, Attorney Jillian Morton, 184 Main Street.
Sam Imelli, JC Engineering, 2854 Cranberry Highway.
All right.
Let's hear it.
Okay, thank you all. I would love to take this petition in two parts, seeing that we don't have Mr. Rowley here as well on site plan, if that's agreeable to the board, to look at those variances first.
Yes.
But I'll start with just some background information. I represent David Sergi of D&J Enterprises, which is located right now on Marion Road. It's a full-service landscape company. I put some information within my petition for you, just to the different things he does as far as property management and it's really landscaping, so mulching, organic mosquito and tick spraying, property cleanups, property maintenance, and that's on commercial and residential here in Wareham and in the surrounding towns. So he provides a lot of jobs for the community and is able to also provide the beautification of residential and commercial properties. So the parcels that we're looking at, what I'd love if you have those plans, to look at the first page of the set. That's going to give you a good idea of how this parcel is unique. So we're located on 8 and 10 Charge Pond Road. Excellent. So this is comprised of two parcels. The first, it's pretty hard to see on there, but on your papers, you can see there's a kind of a triangular shape where that dotted line is. That's one parcel. And then the back parcel is the square. And then this line going in the middle of it, kind of Xing that, that's the zoning line. So we have a interesting situation here where we have the lots that we're looking to build on has mixed zoning. And actually in both of this zoning, the use that we're looking for per the commissioner's denial letter, which I agree with, is he's saying it's an industrial use. There's no specific landscape retail use within our bylaw, so he has to kind of decide what it's closest to. And they're both not permitted in those zones. Now, what we wanted to do, and there's a lot of planning that went involved in this project, site plan review, stormwater management, to look at the drainage issues as well, was see the surrounding areas. So that really goes to this use variance. When you look at use variances, you need to not only look at it in a nutshell, but see what's around there. So we took a look at this area in particular, seeing that there's actually a lot of commercial around it. Commercial general has a lot of uses that are allowable. So, I mean, further down the street, everyone knows there's the YMCA, which is great for the community. Even further down, there's Surecran, and then the Wareham Municipal Maintenance is down Charge Pond Road as well. On Cranberry Highway, which is commercial strip in that area, there's several different other businesses there as well. You have the restaurant, and then we have, obviously, other things like Tremont Nail, which will get renovated as well. So this area and this lot, it's under agreement, and he's looking to purchase it to be able to move his operation from Marion Road over here. Being a resident myself, I understand, I think this is a great idea because if you know where his site is, there's a lot of traffic there, right on Marion Road, and they have their trucks. So this would be going in and out of the end of Charge Pond Road, and you could kind of flip to the next page. And again, I don't want to go through all site plan review because Mr. Rowley is not here. But you can see all the parking spaces and how this is going to be set up. It's going to have a 6-foot privacy fence. It's going to obviously be landscaped in the front. That's part of what he does. So it's trying to keep, as far as any sort of intrusion to residential, as much as possible. So we really feel like this does warrant a use variance. It meets all the requirements under the variance standard because the actual topography of this triangle in the front and the mixed zoning, it's there. The other variance that Mr. Aquina flagged was this landscape buffer variance, which is kind of tricky because we have this mixed zoning. But you can look at how the engineers and how my client set up the property is that we've attempted to create a big buffer there. So we can go more into that if we want to look at the particulars, but that's the initial presentation that I have for you. We also, and you should have it in your file, have 4 letters, maybe one more, I'm not sure if one came in, with abutters, which include the direct abutters and other residential people who have homes over there, because that was one of the concerns, is this going to be of issue to them? And even one of them, which I believe came through in an email, was discussing that there is another landscape business directly behind their property, and it had very little impact. So when we're looking at detriment to a neighborhood, I really feel like there won't be much. I think it would be an improvement for the town, and welcome just that small business to be able to expand and service the residents of Wareham and surrounding areas. So I open up to the board to see what questions we have regarding the variances. It's our intention, Mr. Rowley, we've set up the 53G account if you choose. I mean, we obviously have more than 10 parking spaces, so we know we have to go through that process.
All right, very well.
Yep.
Where did he get the 40 feet buffer?
You wanna
I'm
explain
looking
that?
at it here,
They
20.
want 40 feet between 2 districts.
Between,
Right, but they calling it industrial, but this is general commercial and residential, it's 20 feet.
No, they're calling it an industrial use because they couldn't think of any other thing to label it. That was just
Yeah.
out of thin air. That was
if I
just-
could clarify, because there's split zoning, he's saying there has to be, per bylaw, there has to be 40 feet between the residential and the commercial.
No, residential, commercial, 20. I read his letter, industrial. He's calling it industrial, I don't understand what but that's fine, that's his opinion. And
Yeah.
that's why we're here. I mean, landscape and it's commercial, not industrial, but
I agree.
we'll go forward. Let's go forward on other things. So the major things today is the variance, the use,
Correct.
right? And that is because you're encroaching on the residential land?
The variance, it's a use variance, so it's the same standard, the 40A, we're talking about topography, the shape, the lot, which it meets this uniqueness. And then you have to go through all the factors, which I did through my letter, but I can kind of go on those. So looking at literal enforcement of this bylaw would obviously create a financial hardship for him. He's under agreement, he's moving forward, and he's done a lot of work to be able to move forward. He's trying to grow. You can see on Marion Road, that's a tight space. He has the parking, and this actually allows the 2 parking lots in the front for customers. So you go in and you pay your invoice, and then the other parking is for his trucks or his staff in the back.
So that's the old Cranberry Chevrolet, right?
Yes, yes.
okay.
Yeah, I was looking at the title of that. So, and he actually went through, I looked at the title on that property as well. He went through conservation over there. There's wetland behind there. So it's restricted for him. He cannot build because of that buffer. There's an order of conditions. So that's one of the factors. Also, he was looking for a new site.
Is we really don't have a landscaping thing in our bylaw, huh?
There is not.
Amazing, isn't it?
No, and that was something I understand his interpretation. It's actually, If you want to say commercial, that's fine, but when there's nothing disclosed actually specifically in here, he has to take his interpretation regarding it. So if you look under industrial, there's talking about,
That's earth removal and.
yeah, except earth removal. He's
Let me
not
ask you,
removing.
let me ask you something,
Sure.
the applicant. If somebody walks in there, he could buy loom?
Right, so it's retail in our opinion as well.
Right, so I would look at it as a retail business, which is allowed in GC. In general commercial, it is allowed. Because you could buy loom, mulch.
Understandable.
Will he
It's-
sell loom and mulch?
Yes, you can go in there, you could get, but that's not the main business, right? This isn't like going to Home Depot, and if you know where the property is, again, I think it's, either way we interpret it, we understand that it's necessary because of this mixed zone, because we have the residential that would be in front of you anyways. So,
So we need a use variance.
use variance for the use, and the landscape buffer, variance.
Okay, so that's what we're here for. Okay, we could,
And do we need a site plan
We
review?
do, and
yeah,
that's,
let's get the variance out of the way,
right,
and we
right.
go out of this. That being said, let me explain something. On the between general commercial and R60 or R80, is that, I can't really see it.
It's,
60,
R60.
right.
You could encroach 30 feet in lesser restriction zoning, so you know what the line is? It could be moved 30 feet towards the residential by
Okay.
right, which is keep few parking spaces. But what I'm trying to say, if he moves the building, he could be all in a general commercial, so this is a line like 30 feet.
that's the, yeah.
That's the thing, but by right, he could
Yeah.
encroach 30 feet.
Yeah.
But he still in need to use variance.
Yeah, and you understand how, obviously, the zoning works and how this happens, is because they go, is it
I
300
know.
feet off of the line? So just for the public to know, it's just a standard thing.
I,
So-
I have to say, I mean, I could compliment the guy. I like his business. I mean, I would see his trucks, his trailers, there's not even a dust on them, never mind a scratch. And apparently he cares. And I see them working all the place, and they're local people, and I like that.
Yep.
Veronica, let's start by
I have
you.
a couple of questions that just as a zoning, I would like to have clarified. So, Mr. Requena has set this as industrial. Is that what we have to decide, or could we change it to say retail as a
No.
use?
He didn't set the zoning, he considered the use as an industrial use.
I see,
It's
okay.
still zone strip commercial, it's still zone R60.
So the
We're
variance,
using those zoning, those bylaws, but on the change of use, he needed to give it a name, so it was walking and it was quacking, and he called it an elephant.
Right. So there's two ways we could do it. The legal two ways we could do it. Either grant a variance for industrial use, for landscaping only, or we could overturn Mr. Requena's decision in that part alone. So either way, if the board feel, I mean, either way
That-
works for the applicant, so.
I think it's important how we look at it, changing the variance, the use of that property. Industrial in that area, I would
Right,
not.
so
want
I
it.
would say, I would call it general commercial, overturn his decision, and go with the, but we have to overturn his decision on that particular industrial commercial. We'll discuss it as we go. Jimmy?
I had some time to ignore some of my clients and customers, and I sat and spent a couple of hours reviewing all this before this evening. I'm 100% fine with the plans as presented. I think it's a good use for the location. I think it's good for the town. I read all the neighbors' letters. Other than the fact that I guess, I don't even think we're required to have Charlie review this under site plan. I
We do.
believe it's an
all-
option.
No, over 10 spaces we have.
Oh, with 10 spaces, we have to have
Site
Peer
plan.
review, or, I
Site
thought a peer review was an option.
I want to look at the language because I was
Available
curious
to the
about that
board.
too. Usually in zoning bylaw, it says if you vote to have him peer review.
If we
I
vote,
know
but we don't, I don't think we're required to have him, is my point. And my point is, I'd be, nothing against Mr. Rowley, I'm sure he could find something wrong with any plan. Any engineer can find fault with any engineer's plan, just like any attorney can argue with another attorney. It depends on who's paying them and what their opinion is.
If you choose not to go with the site plan, you need a variance.
But,
You need a site plan review. Over 10 parking spaces, you need it.
My,
Yes, but
my personal position is, I'm fine with it as presented, and whatever the rest of the board wants to do, as long as it's
Right,
not
let's hash
harming the
down,
applicant.
let's hash down the variances
Let's
today,
go.
and we'll worry about this, that's
Yep,
the
I'm
easy
good for the
part. of it.
variance, I'm good for the use.
All right, Richard?
I agree that it would be a good fit in that area. Like there is already a small little landscape business going on over there. He's got piles of mulch and loom and everything else, so I'm good with that.
Right, and there's a garage across the street as well. All right, Troy, what do you
The
think?
landscape business is there already as a competitor, that's across the street. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Troy, what do you think?
Well, I agree. I see how he maintains the place on Marion Road. I can't imagine he'd maintain up there any differently. And
Right.
I have no issues.
And he rents that place there, so he does a
Yeah.
good job. All right, we're gonna go to the audience. Who wanna speak in favor of this project? In favor?
Anything from Zoom?
All right, against? What's everybody here for?
It was a nice sunny night, and there was nothing else to do, and they closed the movie theater, so this is the most entertaining thing in town.
All right, so I guess, no against, no for, so I guess we're looking good.
I make a motion to approve the use and grant the variance as requested.
Can, before we go forward, can we close the public hearing, just this part of the variance?
Yes.
All right, let's
All
close
right,
the
look,
part,
so I move to close
the
in
variance side
relation to
part.
the variance and the use only, but as far as the special permit, keep that active and open to the public.
All right, we have a motion to close the variance part, the two variances part,
I'll second.
and we have a second by Veronica. How we gonna word it?
So-
Veronica don't want it industrial.
No.
We're granting a use for a landscape. It doesn't have to be considered,
Right.
it's not an
So
industrial
we're
use.
gonna, in our variance, we're gonna overturn Mr. Requena decision as an industrial use and grant a variance on general commercial.
Okay.
That's how you're gonna draft it, okay? We'll
Okay.
look at it.
Yep.
So we'll overturn it, general commercial, and because it's a general commercial, you don't need a variance on the buffer. It becomes 20 feet, he has plenty.
So it's just the use variance,
A
okay.
use variance, okay? And then we'll go forward with the special permit after. So all in favor of that, say yes? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, oppose, abstain, 500. So your variance is carried, you make the draft, we'll look at it before we sign it as usual.
Come back in 2 weeks?
Come back
Is that
in 2
okay?
weeks, set the 53G account, let
It's all
Charlie
set
look
up.
at it. Oh, you did?
It's already
Okay,
set
good,
up,
you ahead of
yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
All right. And I guess, Jimmy, can we get a motion to continue?
So moved.
So we have a motion, continue the special permit part till the 27th, and that is David Surgery 8-22-8 and 10 Charles Pond Road. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Rich. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose?
Aye.
abstain. Okay, very well. We'll
Thank
see
you very
see
much.
you. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
8. All right, 9-22, Michael White, 13 Boulevard, South Boulevard. All right, let's bring these things back so we don't lose them for next hearing. Just give us a minute,
Can I
sir,
have all
ma'am.
that? No. control freak in me will not read the new one until this one is off
Yeah.
the table. Sorry.
I know,
But
but she'll yell.
The poor lady that has to follow our mess afterwards if we get things cross-filed.
Yeah, she won't be nice. All right.
There we go.
All right.
I'm gonna hand these across to you guys while I read. One for you, one for you, 1, 2 to pass them. Here we go. Thank you. One for me. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on April 13th, 2022, at 6:30 PM in room 320 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 9-22 for a special permit from the principal use regulations of Article 3, Table 320, under the Wareham zoning bylaws, to Michael T. White of 13 Seawood Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, seeking to create a four-family residential use at 13 South Boulevard, Wareham, Mass. 02571. That appears on Assessors Map 1, Lot 82/B, in the Onset Village 2 zoning district.
All right, name and address for the record,
Michael White, 13 Seawood Road, Wareham.
ma'am? Just your name for the record?
Dawn Fuller. We are the new owners of 13 South, so I'm not sure which address to give.
Okay, that's fine. You bought it from Maggie? Maggie, was it?
I'm sorry?
You put-
Antonio Gomes.
Go, okay.
Yes.
All right, so you want to tell us what you trying to achieve there and what are you doing?
So a lot of people are familiar with the property. It's been abandoned for quite some time, 13 South, and it has been a detriment to the neighborhood in the past. And we purchased the property, and we want to turn it into a four-family for our family. It will be for, eventually it will be for our, we have 2 autistic boys, and they'll be able to live independently, but also close by. And it will also be for my father, who is getting older and lives in Florida. We are seeking a special permit just to really to complete the inside. Nothing will be changed on the outside. The property is complete. It has a new roof. I think it was 2017, a new roof was put on. It's pretty structurally sound. We're just looking to complete the inside. We have talked to Fire Prevention Feedy. We will be putting in a full fire service, pull-down service, master box. I'm just repeating terms I've heard.
Right, it's gotta be
A
protected.
2-inch water
yeah.
line, sprinklers, for safety. We will be putting in a security system as well, because we understand from some of the neighbors that in the past there was some questionable activity there. I did check the zoning. The property itself was a hotel. It has been an inn since the 1900s. We did compete in our negotiations to buy this property with cash buyers who did want to turn it into a hotel and an inn. And they ultimately chose us because we wanted to do less than that. And we feel like that's better for the neighborhood than a hotel or an inn. And just to keep it smaller, we actually do go above and beyond the parking requirements. The parking requirements puts us at 7.5. We're at 9, plus we have some extra space we could use as well. This morning I did check, and it is currently taxed as a use code 1120 apartment over 8. We're not looking to do over 8. We want to do 4 units, that's it. It will be our,
8 is number of bedrooms.
it will be our primary residence. We will live there year-round. This is not a seasonal thing. We will live there, we will raise our family there and our grandkids there. And like I said, we do meet the parking requirements. We did talk to Ken. We met with him. He thought it was a great idea. We have met with David Requena. He thought it was a great idea. We met with fire prevention. We also met with Kat Jones for the association, and she gave us a letter of support that I'd like to give to you now. We got a letter from Kat Jones. Sue Ann, the Realtor, provided a letter talking about the other offers that they had and that they chose us because we weren't going to turn it into a motel. And one of the other neighbors, Margot Rubin, if I can give you those. Can I give you those?
They're not in this folder here?
We just got them.
Okay.
They're just
yeah,
an
Bring
addition.
them up, we'll put them in the folder for you. Unless you request it, we won't bother reading them in, we'll just tell them that they're in the affirmative. Are you satisfied with that?
So let me ask you something. It's always been a 4-unit in there?
No, it was actually a 5 to 9 unit.
Okay.
Yeah, before it had a fire. It was
All right,
more
okay.
of a,
So
rooming
that's why
house.
he's calling it a special permit. All right.
Right.
And it was David Requena said because it sat empty more than 2 years, we would have to get a special permit again.
Okay.
The use has been abandoned.
Yeah.
Yes, so we will not be changing any of the open air spaces. We will not be changing the outside of the structure at all. It's just interior. It's just drywall and kitchens and making it beautiful.
Well, it's not just drywall, if you're gonna sprinkler it, put in sprinklers and alarms.
It's down to the
You're gonna be
studs.
spending $100 or $200.
Yeah, I hope it's 200.
Take that.
It's down to the studs, so it's actually easier to do it from this position than to try and do a fit up later on.
All right, very well. Veronica, what do you think?
I think it's a great project.
Jimmy?
Thank you.
Again, I spent the time and I looked this all over online before tonight. I'm good with the project. If I interpret it correctly, you're gonna have a total of 13 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Including a one way up on the 3rd floor, which is kind of in an attic space, if I
Right.
count that as one, otherwise it's 12. You're gonna have 9 cars off-street, although they'll be 3 wide and 3 deep, so
Yeah.
you'll have to move 6 to get the back 3 out, et cetera, but you still, I know the neighborhood.
It's like that everywhere, so.
And
Yeah, we're
now learning that it's all family and everything, my question,
Yeah. And some of our children don't drive, so they won't have cars.
Wow.
Well,
leave the
I don't know if
keys
they-
on the
They're not
counter.
gonna drive.
they're autistic and special needs. They
So,
probably won't be driving.
I'm kidding with you a little
Yeah.
bit. Just as a neighbor question, you mentioned some of your family members have different needs, and you have elderly that you're considering. When I reviewed the plan, it looked like you were making one master suite, which has 5 or more bedrooms, or one master unit, and then 3 or 4 other smaller units. And when I
Three.
read it, it said to help with the mortgage. And then when you were speaking this evening, you said so they could live independently. So are the units that you're gonna be making that could help with the mortgage, to use your terminology, and, is that gonna be potentially family members as well? Is that
So
your
the three-
autistic son,
The
or-
3 units, we will probably do rentals initially because the kids aren't ready
They're rental
yet.
units, their income.
They're not ready yet. The children aren't ready yet, but the goal is for
Doesn't
family.
matter to me, I'm just,
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were building a one building family compound, or if you were.
Well, hopefully.
If they
we don't want
qualify
them
for
to
Social
leave.
Security, they could be the tenant.
We actually like our kids and we don't want them to leave, so.
Well.
And we
they
have several aunts in town and stuff, and they've already claimed dibs that they want to live there
I
too.
saw the cheesy picture with all your faces in
There you
it.
go.
And
Yeah.
I thought that brought a lot of humanity to your application, and I applaud you for doing it.
Well, thank you.
Oh, thanks.
I wish you luck with your project.
Thank you.
Troy?
I'm fine. I have no
Jimmy?
issues.
Okay.
I'm fine the way it's presented, sir.
All right, in the public, anyone want to speak in favor of this project? Somebody wants, in favor? In favor? Yes. Just go to that microphone, please.
And then I have Kat Jones who would like to as well.
Lost a paper clip, but.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Rich McBride. I live on West Central Avenue. And as a neighbor, this property has been abandoned since when I bought my house in 2011, and there was a big fire there, and it's really nice to see a family come in and actually improve the whole area. That particular part of town has a lot of building going on, a lot of new places being built, and it's really nice to see a family come in and make a dedicated move to improve the area for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Thank you for coming up.
Yes.
Those were all affirmative letters.
I think Kat Jones.
Hi there.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Hi, yes, Kat Jones, Precinct 3. I live at 230 Onset Ave. I'd be happy to read the letter of support that I submitted, if you'll allow me.
What's your address?
230 Onset Avenue.
That's this
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Okay. To whom it may concern. I recently had the pleasure of meeting with Michael and Dawn White of 13 Seawood Road, Wareham, who have been in the process of purchasing 13 South Boulevard in Onset Village. I was able to look over and discuss the plans at length for this long vacant property that they wish to turn into a family home for themselves, their children, their menagerie of family, animal family members, and perhaps sooner than later, an aging parent. In speaking with the Whites, who are longtime residents of Wareham, it's obvious they have a vested interest in the community and will be positively engaged neighbors. They already have several family members living in the immediate area. The unique opportunity they have in rehabbing the interior of this property will allow them to fully enjoy the space for its many potential uses, while also adding to the curb appeal and increasing property values in the neighborhood. You can look anywhere in that neighborhood and see the investments that old and new homeowners have made in recent months and years. The Whites, I believe, should be afforded that same opportunity. As a 25-year resident of Onset myself, I've seen the turnover and turmoil of this property. It's clear to me that they plan on making this a family compound first and foremost, while also adding to the year-round rental market with 3 apartments, and maybe down the road offer vacation rentals. Being a former landlord and Airbnb host myself, I've seen the firsthand an owner-occupied rental tends to find tenants on their better behavior. I would much rather see an established Wareham family fulfill a housing need than witness a developer turn this into a hotel, a rooming house, or absentee landlord type of dwelling. I'm an advocate for this project, and I really hope that you see the benefits of it as well and let them proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Also, we have
Thank you.
a letter of support from Sue Ann Murley of 247 Onset Ave. Also, another letter of support from Margot Rudin, and she's from 13 South Boulevard, Onset. Sir, your name and address for record?
Pete McDonough, 7th Street, Onset, Mass. We've owned the property 15 years. I retired 5.5 years ago and put some money into the house because we love Onset. We've walked past this house now for about 11 years and watched it decay. Somebody was doing something to it 5 years, 6 years ago, renovated the roof and the siding, and then the project stopped. My concern is hotels, halfway house, and things like that. When I was coming home from church, not to sound corny, with my wife the other day, we walked by every day. I met the two of them out front, and their enthusiasm for their project and what they were trying to do with it just turned me on that it's going to be a family development. Could be a rental property for a little while for a little income for the mortgage they're going to have in this place. But for me, it's a win-win for Onset to have a nice family move into the town, take care of that building once for all, and move on with the decaying. And it's a gorgeous piece of property on waterfront. I don't want to see. I want to see them in it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're gonna call up the Onset White House.
That's my house. I already live in that one.
Anyone else want to speak in favor? Here none. Would you like anything else before we close?
No.
No. Oh, very well. Here none.
Make a motion to close the public portion of this hearing.
We did say oppose. Oh, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry. I start with the. I'm very sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Come forward. My bad, my bad. Sorry, I saw the opposed first.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't look like an auntie to me.
Pardon me?
I said, you don't look like an auntie to me.
Yeah, I know. I also have a petition letter from other abutters, immediate abutters,
Okay.
not just family and supporters, so I also have my own statement I'd like to.
The
Go ahead.
microphone.
Oh, actually, this is your letter from me. If you could add this to the opposition letter. I have my own copy to read from.
Okay, so it's just for the file.
Yes, correct.
And these two things are two different things?
That is my letter with that
Your letter and
attached,
this-
correct. But I attach that as I reference it in the letter as an attachment.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Fantoni, and I am the daughter of Angelo and Melody Salvador. Together, we are the owners of 15 South Boulevard, an immediate and, shall I say, intimate abutter of the subject property. The news of the potential sale of our neighboring property comes in a bittersweet fashion, as we've all been through nearly 30 years of ups and downs stemming from illegal activities such as alleged drug use, dealing, domestic disturbances, police involvement, and even prostitution. There were also talks of the property being converted into a drug and alcohol recovery center prior to a horrific fire that nearly destroyed the structure and caused damage to our own home. Most recently, the house has sat vacant but quiet, while we disappointedly watched the house fall into even further despair, resulting from blatant neglect and disregard to our otherwise pretty neighborhood. In an effort to improve the aesthetics and charm of the surrounding village, my family and I worked with our neighbors, the town of Wareham, a reputable architect, and invested a great deal of time and money into a design of our own home that the surrounding neighbors would not only embrace, but would fit in nicely with the surrounding landscape of Onset Village. After years of planning, we finally got approval to move forward with the new design for our family home last fall. Needless to say, after this significant investment, my family and I are extremely concerned over the plans and potential impacts that it may have on our neighborhood. We are looking for assurance that the potential for history repeating itself is not within the realm of possibility. After studying the plans and documents posted on the ZBA website for this petition, I asked my architect, Anthony, to also closely examine them from a regulatory, safety, and feasibility standpoint. Her findings are attached to this letter, and I distributed it to the board members. In addition to Anthony's findings, I also have the following concerns that I wish to be addressed. First, plans and specifications accompanying the application become conditions of the issuance of a special permit. The petitioner should not be able to move forward without completed plans, architectural and engineering, which can be referenced in any decision from the board. 2, the use on the property. The board can also consider future effects of the proposed use, as well as the effects of other projects approved or denied in the vicinity of the proposal, i.e., 2 things. That the special permit, once approved, can be there for future owners who may not have the same intention as our petitioners. And the surrounding ZBA prior decisions are relevant. The variance approved on parcel should be, on our parcel as well, should be taken into account. The abandonment of the prior use, you talked about that earlier. This should also be considered since the site's variance has expired. Original variance 2015, which was appealed to the Superior Court and dismissed. 3, the plans indicate that a proposed added entryway would be built right in front of our own home's front window, which would completely block some of our already limited views from this side of the house. This entryway would also be constructed inches from our property line, perhaps spilling over onto our property line. I would think that a professional survey would be necessary to go any further with this. 4, their plan also suggests that emergency egress from the second-floor apartments would be onto our property, and the neighbor's property as well. I'm not sure that this would even be permitted. As for the rest of the neighborhood, I am also extremely concerned with the impacts of parking. There is definitely not enough on-site parking for the number of apartments/bedrooms proposed. It is my fear and belief that parking 9 cars, 3 abreast and 3 long, as shown on the attached diagram, is not only impossible, but completely impractical and will most likely never happen. It is not reasonable to expect the residents of Unit 3 to move their cars so that units of Resident 4 can go to work or grocery shopping. Instead, they will be parking on the street, which is far more convenient, therefore occupying all the residential parking that should be shared by the neighborhood and other residents of Onset and Wareham. Your thoughtful consideration to our position is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am? Come forward.
Thank you. My name is Barbara Malloy. I'm at 17 South Boulevard. I've met with Michael and Dawn twice, and I think they're going to be delightful neighbors. My concerns, though, when I have looked at their plans on ZBA and also when we were with them, again, are that they're not completely defined as to what their specifications are going to be. And knowing what I went through on my end to do renovations on 17 South Boulevard, it was far more extensive than what's being required or what they have submitted at this point in time. Before, saying, yes, I approve, yes, I think this is a wonderful idea, because I do think that having family in there would be much better than having a hotel or an inn. I just would like to see more definition in your plan, and where are the bedrooms actually going to be, where the egress is going to be, where the what specifically is going to be an apartment, what specifically is going to be family home. It's a potentially beautiful home.
Ma'am, you're supposed to be addressing the board, not the
Oh, I'm
applicant.
sorry.
You're talking to us.
I'm sorry. I think it's going to be a beautiful home if it can be managed. And that's truly my concern, is that there's not really a site plan in place. There's not really specified as to what the apartments are going to be and what's going to be the primary home residence and the parking as well. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for your,
Thank you. Is there anyone online? No. All right, you do have...
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Want to come forward?
Excuse me, I'm a little hard of hearing, so I may have missed the first thing when you were talking about in favor or opposed. I live directly next door at 11 Prospect Avenue, Bob Hayes, and I bought that house 8 years ago. Something has to go in the old mansion, as we called it. Something has to be there, and there's been numbers of uses for people saying it's going to be a halfway house, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. And I know it's close to everybody's property, but you could sneeze in that neighborhood and everybody could hear you. There's no getting around that. Personally, my own personal opinion, I think the best use for this property is what the Whites are talking about doing. As long as they're living there and they're going to rent out the other 3 apartments, it's going to be tight, but I parked in that driveway for 6 or 7 years. That house was a disaster. I knew what I was buying when I moved in, and as they fixed it up, the people have done a fabulous job, the people who owned it before the Whites. And they come over and spoke to me and were very gracious. I was raking the lawn 2 or 3 weeks ago and said everything they're going to do. They seemed very genuine. Something's going to go there. The realistic part about life is that house is there. It's not going to get torn down. It's not going to fly away. It needs to have a use, and it has a value. So I kind of think this might be the best use of anything that you could do. Yes, is it going to bring a few more cars to the neighborhood? no question. But as I said, you could sneeze in that neighborhood and somebody buys a pizza now, you can tell if it's pepperoni or not. It is what it is, but it needs a use. And if anybody needs a little bit of leeway or whatever you want to call it, variance, I think it's them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, they don't,
I apologize.
no problem, yeah,
That's why I moved up.
that's okay. There's no variance needed here, it's a special permit.
I have
I-
one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we first listened to the applicant, I became under the impression that they were working within the existing structure.
Yes, we are.
And
Right.
one of the people that came up when we were just about ready to close the public hearing said that they're putting an addition on.
We are not.
Okay.
So-
Let,
A stair, an entryway to a stair. There is not currently a door where they're proposing a
Okay.
all right, let me explain to you how it's gonna go. What's-
That door is gone, by the way.
So you're not making that door?
You're not.
This is how it works. Before us is the special permit. There's a building that exists. According to the plan they gave us, according to building inspector, there's no changes in the outside, in the inside. Being in the inside, you cannot dictate to somebody how they cut off their rooms, how bedrooms, doors. We don't have any jurisdiction to tell them, oh, we want the bedroom here or the living room here. If they do an egress, like you said, and it's gonna be on your property, they're gonna hit the wall when they file for the building permit, and they're gonna have to come back for a variance. On the floor plan, like I said, that's an existing plan, and the site plan, there's no changes outside, so we can't really, if they were moving a outside wall or moving, like they said, the front door, which they're not doing, or stairs, absolutely you need a site plan, but according to what's before us, nothing changed. Area of units, that's a building code. We don't have jurisdiction on building code. Means of egress, we're not a board for a building code, that's a building code. It's not our jurisdiction, so if that's the building inspector, if he makes him make egresses or he doesn't, that's his call. If the egresses fell within setback of your property or the other neighbor, then they have to come back for a variance. And also a basement access, that's a building code too, it's not our jurisdiction. So only thing is our jurisdiction is the site plan, which is in this matter, and the floor plan is not our jurisdiction, and parking, which is existing. They're not changing it, they're not paving more, they're not building additions, nothing. So we really can't do much about it until, if they go, like I said, and put steps or something on the side. And I understand your concern that neighbors and stuff, but the last gentleman who came here made the perfect sense. It's been through people, it was mess, problems, and as we see, apparently, this couple, they're the perfect people for this property to take care of it. I don't think you can get any better deal. I mean, I'd love to have this couple to be my neighbor. So, I mean,
Thank you.
what do you expect to do with that building? Like the gentleman said, it's not gonna disappear. So that's why the board kinda agrees with them. And like I said, if they'll ever encroach to your property, believe me, the commissioner will pick on it right away. It'll be a variance, then we could come back and argue it. So,
Anybody else that wants to speak?
yes, sir.
Thought I saw somebody's thing.
My name's Joe Sweeney. My family owns the property at 1 6th Street in Onset. One of the things, we just found out about this, and I guess my concern, and we're not against what the family is potentially trying to do here. I think we need one more information. But according to public hearing 1565-3, blah, 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 it says, permitting authority shall provide the public hearing notice to the applicant, who will notify all abutters and parties of interest within 200 feet of the parcel. We weren't notified of this, and my concern, not being notified.
Are you an abutter to the abutter?
I don't know.
Yes, he
I
is.
mean, we're right here, where this is 75 feet.
Listen,
This is
it's
their parcel.
No, it's not how it works.
No.
Abutter to the abutter or 200 feet. So whichever works on the applicant's favor. So who's the abutter? Let me see, the green is them, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
who's behind them before you?
This is, I think,
Someone.
this is, I think, Miss Fantoni's property right here.
And then there's the
And
road.
there's the road here.
That's it, that's two abara.
so that's
The
it?
town is the abara, so abara to the abara.
Okay.
Or 200 feet. So for instance, if there's one big parcel, you should measure 200 feet, that's it.
Okay.
You don't go to
So we
abara.
we don't have to be notified.
don't have to.
You weren't snubbed.
Okay, I just was,
Right.
right. We don't do this a lot.
They don't do this, the assessors do this. So
Okay.
it's not like they pick and choose who they send. The town send these notices.
Okay.
They only pay for it. The town didn't want you to know, but the people were willing to pay to tell you.
Okay.
Well,
Again,
it goes on the paper too, so.
all right. I mean, we don't live there all year long.
So it's not
whatever.
defective.
But, okay, so, but I guess we do have some similar concerns as Ms. Fantoni, just finding out about it with what are the actual plans. I guess one of my questions is if the intent is long-term for these folks to do it's a single-family residence, then what's the real need to have a variance to have multifamily? I guess
That's not a variance.
It's, well, the zoning change to
Special permit.
that, a
They
special
used to be
permit.
8 units. They're actually doing better. It's 5 units. It's 4 right now.
Okay, but if the intent.
That's why it's a special
Again, I'm
permit.
just asking a question, which is if the goal is really to have this and people agree, it's gonna be a
If
better
you are
use.
to build this building today, you're allowed 3 units only with
Okay.
the size of the lot. But because it's existing and it had 8 units prior,
Mhm.
and they do them
Yeah,
for
and we're
it's a
very,
special
I
permit.
think just like a lot of folks, we're very familiar with the
Right.
use over the years, and
Pretty hard not to
it's
know
not
the
been.
property.
Exactly. So does that stay with the property then, the three
Once,
or
yeah,
whatever?
once it gets recorded, it needs to be recorded after 20 days for the appeal period. Once it's recorded, it stays with the property.
Okay.
So if they sell it, that's what governs.
Mhm.
It stays with it. It goes for the land. The special permit or variance goes for the land, not for the applicant.
Okay.
So they can't take it with them.
All right, thanks. That's all I really had for questions.
All right.
Thank
Thank you for coming up.
Sure.
All right.
Anybody else?
Anyone else? All right.
I reiterate my motion to close the public portion of this hearing.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Richard. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose, abstain, it's closed. What's the wishes?
I make a motion to approve, to grant as presented.
And what's the findings?
Standard conditions. Finding, is it a special permit?
Yeah.
I find it not to be non-detrimental to the neighborhood. I find it to be in keeping with the neighborhood.
Very well. Do I have a second on Jim's motion?
Second.
Second by Troy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose, abstain, 500, it carries. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Good luck. Wish you best of luck with your kids and family.
Thank you.
All right, 1022, Joseph Nadeau.
Got anything to give me back, or you still?
Yeah, yeah.
Have a good night.
Let's have him back, guys.
Yeah.
I think this is gonna go with this now, right? I'll put this at the back. of it.
Oh, he gave him back.
I already got yours. Look, you guys are ahead of me, you know?
I don't know
Thank
whether,
you.
oh,
It's all done.
this is the cover.
I was just gonna make a smart comment that you're first and usually you, but you weren't.
That's the best reason. I know.
I know.
I mean, they just said, they spouted all the bad things that could be there, and it's a residential.
Wow, that's what everybody's here for. I was like, what the heck is people here for?
Yeah.
Well, now that we got everybody from
Goes half
Onset
of
to go
Onset.
home,
I'd like to see something done with that house too. It's a beautiful home.
don't you feel a lot more comfortable now? There's only 4 people in the room. Oh. And you're one of the 4.
Oh, 2 of my neighbors.
Thank you for closing the door. Here you go.
All right.
2, 3, 1 for you, 1 for each of them fellas. There's yours. There's mine. Thank you. The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing on April 13th, 2022 at 6:30 PM in room 320 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 10-22 for a special permit from the dimensional standards for small lots in village districts of Article 6, Table 628, and from the requirements for altering or expanding a lawfully pre-existing, non-conforming residential structure of Article 13, Section 1352, under the Wareham zoning bylaws to Joseph J. Nadeau of 54 Nantucket Street, Wareham, Mass. 02532, seeking to raise the existing single-car garage and replace it with a new two-car garage located at 54 Nantucket Street, Wareham, Mass. 02532. This appears on Assessors Map 3, Lot 22, in the MR 30 zoning district.
All right, name and address for the record.
Hi.
Let us know what you're doing.
My name is Joseph J. Nato. I live at 54 Nanuet Street in Onset. I've lived there since I bought the property in August of 2015. I've done some exterior work, all new windows, new roof, siding. I'm looking to raise the existing single-car garage and replace it with, I don't think dimensionally it's a two-car garage because it's 19 feet wide. I think a two-car garage is 24 feet wide.
So it's a car and a half.
Yeah.
But it looks like
Right.
it's 30 feet deep, so it's a car and a half
Yeah,
deep,
and
too.
that might be why it says that. So the existing garage is less than 4 feet from the property line, and I know the setbacks are 10 feet from the property line. This is an existing structure. The new one I proposed is going to be 4.1 feet from the property line, with the future room above it, with an entryway, with an attached entryway.
Okay. All right, so he's an existing,
I do have a copy of the architecturals.
yeah, probably
I-
good
I-
idea.
I-
Let's look at
I
them.
did load them up to the building department's website, and I gave them to the zoning board.
Let's look at them because we don't have. All right, that's an existing non-conforming. If the board, under section 13,
That's all right. We'll give it-
1352,
This is your only set, so you need it back? You have some at home. But you
All
know
right.
enough not to bring too many, because you'd only get none
They're
back.
very expensive.
Okay.
all right, and under Article 13, 1350, section 1352, if the board feels so it's not so detrimental, we can act upon it as a special permit. If the board feels it's detrimental, it'll be a variance. So
My
it
architect is actually
existing.
online.
Let me finish, sir. It
Again,
is-
I looked this one over ahead of time, and I'd suggest we open it up to the public before we get into too much discussion.
Look at it.
Find if there's any
Right.
neighborhood opposition right off the bat, and
Bill Peterson. Okay, I do have him in here. Yeah, so, yes, yeah.
All right, before we go to the public, let's start by Troy or Richard, since he's looking at him. What do you think, Richard?
I have nothing at this time, and I want to look a little further.
Okay. Troy, hearing the story, what do you think?
I gotta look at the plans a little more, too.
All right.
Thank you.
So the existing garage,
Yes.
it's about 4 feet to the property line.
Yeah, it's less than 4 feet.
Right, and he's proposing 4.1.
Yes, sir.
And the setback there is 10 feet, but.
Yes.
But it is existing non-conforming, so he can extend the non-conformity if the boards feel so.
Would Veronica like this?
I guess if it was unattached,
see.
it could be 5 feet.
Unattached 5 feet, right?
That's what the building inspector told
it
me.
was what, detached?
Are you good, Troy,
yeah.
with that?
Yeah, I'm good with this.
But I would like to, that's where I want to put an entryway.
Right.
So a mudroom, sort of.
Okay, wanna pass it Veronica? While Veronica looking on the public, anyone wanna speak in favor of this project, in favor? Yes, just your name and address for the record.
you gotta come up and say it into the microphone, sorry. It's
can
also
sit-
how
you
we
can
get
be
your blood
next to him if you
circulating.
want.
We don't want you to fall asleep up back there.
I'm sorry, man.
Hi, my name's Edward Pimentel. I live at 52 Nantucket Street, Onset. I abut his property. I'm in favor for it. I think it'll improve the neighborhood. And that's it.
All right, very
You
good.
abut to the left, to the right, to the rear?
To the right.
Thank you.
Okay. Sir?
Yeah, my name is David Carcio. I live at 21 Monroe Street, and my property is to the rear. We have the 4-foot boundary between his proposed project and mine. And I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, it's going to be a little tight, but I mean, I think Joe and I have talked about some of the things that I'm looking at. I'm a little concerned, obviously, they're gonna dig close to our patio, and then there could be some, sand caving in, that's all sand, but, we'll work through it if we need be. And, he's gonna probably eliminate the 2 of the windows overlooking our patio, and I talked to him about the lighting and so forth. And he's a great neighbor. I think it'll be good for the neighborhood. As a gentleman agreement, as a neighbor agreement, we talked about exterior lighting, that he wasn't having LEDs high up, because he's gonna be about 25 feet high. It's kind of gonna obstruct the view that we have of the street, but that's fine. We have a 6-foot stockade fence between the properties now, and he and I have talked about maybe improving that, and along with Ed. So, I mean, I had some concerns about, like, cave-in and digging in the back. I don't know if he's gonna have any heating systems in the property, as far as, power vents or high efficiency units, where the exhaust gonna go. Water runoff on the roof, it seems like it's pitched towards his property. He's got a Dutch clip roof coming on my property, but it's not much rain coming into that. Trying to think what else. He's about 4, that garage is there, it's just a slab, so he's gonna be digging down 4 feet. I don't think he's gonna do a full basement, obviously. He's gonna put pre-stressed concrete. I don't think he's gonna do a thickened edge slab. He's probably gonna do 4-foot, what I'm seeing, 4-foot frost wall with a footing. Again, I don't know if he's gonna have any heat in there, but, that, I'm sure that he'll vent that out in another direction.
But it's gonna be tied into the existing boiler in my.
Okay, so you'll
in my
just run
house.
the zone out there if you do put heat?
Yes.
Trying to think what else. It's gonna be a much larger footprint than what he has, but, we'll live with it, and be a wall of building in front of us, but that's the way, that's it.
That's
As far
great.
as, I don't, I think it'll be
It's
good.
awful good to hear that there's 2 neighbors that are actually working it out and talking
Yeah.
and moving forward.
That's
And
great.
I know that they're gonna be like lifelong partners, and
Did
it's
you buy him
awesome.
an apple pie when he moved in?
I mean, I'm trying to understand his side of the story.
Yeah, I get it. And-
We're seasonal. I mean, he's gonna live there all year round. I mean, will it be a detriment to the neighborhood? Who knows? It might bring my value up, it might bring my value down. I don't know.
He'll be watching your property in the winter.
Yeah, right?
That's great. I'm glad you guys working it out. That's good.
So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at with the whole thing. I mean,
That's
initially
how
when I
it's
saw
supposed
it,
to be.
it seemed like a big baraka, a big, wall of house right next to our property, but I think we're gonna be, he's gonna do a great job, and I think it'll be great for the neighborhood, in the end,
Put a basketball hoop on it.
Pardon me? What?
Put a basketball hoop on it.
Yeah, right, I like that. I like that.
Just remember, when it comes time for you to do the same,
Yeah.
he owes you one.
Right. My other concern was maintenance of his property, because we have a 6-foot stockade fence. I asked him, how are you gonna put a ladder against the back of your building if you ever get, so, obviously, if I'm still there, you can put the ladder on my side and go over my fence, and there's a lot of little, it's tight, but,
I have a situation personally like that, and I have to use pump jacks.
he said he has pump jacks, and, they work something. You gotta make a hole in the siding for the nails, but that's all right. Putty them up.
Yeah.
I just put a plank on the top of the 6-foot fence and
Yeah.
a house.
Yeah, I've done that before.
I'm
We'll
not
call
a-
OSHA on that one.
I'm not exactly sure, but I don't think your insurance company would like him putting a ladder on
No,
and
they
going on
won't.
that, so.
Those pickets are sharp.
I think pump jack staging would be the
Yeah, I know,
answer for
we're
that.
just joking, yep. I think that's pretty much all I have, I have other family members that were concerned, and they couldn't make it, so I'm kind of representing them. They were kind of shrug over it, because it is a change in the neighborhood, and it's gonna be, you know, but I think in the end, it'll be good for everyone.
Thank you.
All right, very
Thank you,
good.
thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
Sir?
I'm here for the Settlers Land.
Okay.
We had that table, we,
Anyone on, online? Yes. Anyone online?
you're still there.
No? Veronica, it's your comments from you.
So, I just want to be clear on a couple of things.
Ma'am.
Unconnected would be a 5-foot setback requirement.
Yes.
Connected would be
10.
10. This is the only, and on the plans, I can't, what is the current setback of your house, not your shed, your house?
I think it's 7.1 feet or 7.1 feet from my house to the property line.
Okay.
So it doesn't meet the current requirements, but it's
Right, so that's the nonconformity that's
forming,
existing.
yeah, non-conforming existing,
Yeah, okay.
legal.
So my thought on this, just looking at this on paper, and I know the area very well,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
sides of the houses, and looking at how this is drawn, I'm not sure why you chose to go to the 4.1, but looking at this, in my opinion, I would like to see the whole thing be at 7.1, not 4. I think that's a lot to ask, because it is a connected structure. When it's not connected, you have that space, it doesn't seem so intense when this is the size of your shed looks relatively small, less than half of what you're proposing to put into a new nonconformity, and you're increasing the height of the nonconformity. So that's like a whole wall to your neighbor, that's
Goes up to
awfully close.
19.2 at the peak.
Yeah, I think it's very close. I think 4 feet, it's pretty close. I would be willing to say yes to a 7.1 if you kept the actual distance of your house and continued it straight over. I think you'd still have a beautiful design. You'd get a lot of what you're still trying to get without that added 3 feet that I think really does impact your neighbors to a detriment.
I'm not sure how, well,
So on inanimate street, instead of 16 feet, you'll have 13.
to come forward, move it
You
forward.
want to take the 3 feet off the back and put it on the front, which you're
That's what she
suggesting-
suggested.
Oh,
You
that's-
suggesting slide the whole thing forward, or were you?
Yeah,
Forward.
whether, if, just not have that added 3 feet at your back, putting it to the front is a great idea, but I just think that that's a lot to ask of your neighbors to have that there, and I do think it creates a detriment, because now you have that whole space that needs to be worked on, maintained. It's not just to put it here and build it. That's a long history that it's gonna be with this building if it's approved.
How
like
deep
this.
is that garage?
Oh, 30 feet by my scale.
It's actually.
29
Oh, you have my
something.
plans over there, right?
It looks like
Actually,
30, 29.
Yeah, 20-something.
I mean,
It's 29, well,
you can make it wider and keep the 16 and give 7 feet. Instead of 29, you'll be at 26, still a big garage.
Probably trying to figure out how he can back a boat in beside the house and get a truck in front of it.
I have a pickup truck, so it's pulling
I'm
the
just
pickup
trying
truck
to-
in too.
I'm
so.
looking at the yard and figuring how you might be trying to use it and why the,
Veronica does have she makes sense. If you make it flush with the house,
And
now,
then
now you
come-
have this nice, you give your neighbor another 3 feet.
Yes,
And if you want to keep the 16 in the front, go instead to the left, instead of 15.8, you could go another 5 feet. You don't even need a variance for that. So you could do wider, then you have 2-car garage instead, one's narrow, tall one, long one.
and you
know
can
what I'm
still get your
saying?
boat
So
in.
you have
have a
19, you
boat.
make it 24 by 24, it'd be beautiful.
yeah.
This is the architect, Bill Peterson, of Derby Square Architects. Could I ask us to look at sheet 4 so we can maybe better understand why it's positioned the way it is?
Yeah, it's in the print, yeah.
Oh,
If
she's
you could
got the
pan over to the right,
Oh,
please.
1.4? I don't.
Sheet
A4.
4. So
Okay.
Yeah, I think that might better explain why it's positioned the way that it is.
Sheet 4.
Can we get that on the screen by
Yeah,
chance?
he's got it.
It is. It's on the screen now.
Oh, it's,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, keep-
Let me.
Oh, you want to
Can't
see it
see
on,
without
you like?
glasses.
That's not what's on the screen.
All right, what's your point?
So what's in that 3 feet that we don't want to give up? The stairwell?
Well, what I just wanted you to, I think we were previously looking at the site plan. I wanted you to understand the floor plan and the way that it's oriented. So yes, you could shift it forward. What you would do is you would take away usable space in the front and in that courtyard area that you would be trading while you'd be potentially gaining 3 feet in the backyard. That's what is unusable now and would be unusable then. You'd be taking away 3 feet from the front that is usable for garden, for the patio space in the front, and for that front driveway. You would also potentially eliminate a parking spot, an off-street parking spot in front of the garage. If you moved it any closer, you would be pushing one car and putting it on the street.
Yeah, 16 and a half feet. My pickup truck's longer than 16 and a half feet.
All right, that garage is 30 feet, right? Deep?
Sir, it's 28 feet, 8 inches.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
at
it's
20,
effectively,
if you
yeah.
go 24 by 24, it'd be 2-car garage, and what's wrong with that? And you give the 7 feet, the neighbor's very nice, but if you give the 3 feet, it's a better, give some more air, and it's a better construction for everybody, and there's no, I mean, don't matter if you have a suburban, you could still fit 24 feet deep garage, and you
So
go
if we
24.
made it wider, we would encroach even further on the neighbor to the left, 52. So we would.
Right,
we
but
would
you can, you have 5.8 feet without a variance. Well, actually, you don't need a variance, it's an existing non-conforming. But if you go another 5 feet, now you're 19, you're 24. Then you have 2-car garage, 2 doors, and then it'll be 24 deep. Then you could park 2 cars next to each other instead of 1.
I was trying to.
Yes, it would take away more usable yard. The backyard now is not usable due to it only being just under 8 feet. So it's virtually unusable. The yard to the left is in fact usable. So we were trying to not take up that usable yard
I
space.
totally understand, but right now you got a board member that wants you to go flush in the back, and if somebody goes along with the board member,
So if we go flush with the back, we'll potentially lose a parking spot in the front. That's the ultimate.
don't push it forward, that's what I'm trying to tell you, keep the 16 feet, go wide.
And I just want to say too, about using the yard, the neighbors have a right to have 10 feet. They don't have 10 feet, and you're asking them to have this house 4 feet, which is
Well,
a big
If
nonconformity.
I may, Veronica, it is existing though, but it doesn't
Right.
mean we have to grant it. It is an existing, they have 4 feet right now. If we feel it's detrimental,
Right.
we'll act upon it as a variance, and it'll be pretty much dead in the water. So what you wishes? You could,
I would like to keep it so I have more usable yard. I do.
it
have
might
a
not
right-
pass, you
No.
might not get the votes.
And then, like, if I do go forward, I'll end up.
You could
losing
go
them.
home, if you could go home, think about it, come on the 27, or you could go with what we recommended.
You anxious to get the project started?
Or do you have time?
Vote tonight?
Well,
2 weeks?
I want it to pass, too.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want it to pass.
Talk with
You
the
know.
architect and talk about the merits of having the ability to put 2 cars in the garage side by side, and given a little more room in the backyard to keep the board happy, and you still be able to park to the side of your garage, what's being proposed. Your architect's gonna get to charge you more money to redraw the plans.
He actually asked for a continuance. He said you should continue it.
He
So,
did say, he just texted you back, said you better continue.
So that's, yeah.
Aren't texts a wonderful
Hey,
thing?
he's-
We didn't even hear it, we could just see your phone light up.
All right, why don't we continue? I want to give you this.
I so moved.
All right, so we have a motion to continue. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor to continue until 27, say aye. Aye, oppose, abstain.
Do you need these, or can we put them in our file?
You can put them in the file.
Listen, why don't you take this with you?
Yes, sir.
Show this to your architect. I think this will work good for you. So you eliminate this, you
I
go
gave you
flush.
multi-copies.
extended this way 5 feet. Now you have a 24 by 24 garage with 2 doors. I think this is great. I build them all the time. This 24 by 24 is a good size. I think you'll be happy with this versus a 30-foot one door. You could put 2 cars. Think about it. I think you'll be fine like this. Very well. All right, so we can, you could have it. No, I'm good.
We got enough, and you're gonna bring us another set anyway, so that's.
You're gonna fix it and come back.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll see you on the 27th, okay?
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Okay. Here you go, Jimbo.
Okay.
Well, I'll have to bring, what is it, 9 sets of the plan itself?
Like 8,
Of
redo.
the plot
If
plan
you
again?
are, if you agree on the plans.
Okay.
Just, we will, it don't matter the architectural looks, the site plan, that's
site
what's
plan needs to be
important.
adjusted.
That's what we vote on.
All right.
All
Thank you
right,
very
well.
much.
Thank you.
See you on
Thank you, sir.
27th. Thank you.
Nazi, what was there was something that was talked about in terms of what we need for plans, that it was going to be put up on the screen and that people were not going to be required to bring in all those copies because of the paper reduction.
That was
and-
something Aaron sent us an email on, I believe.
Yeah.
If we do this, then everybody needs a laptop. You gotta bring your laptop to look at it.
Can we put it up there?
It just happened
I mean, I'll
that
bring
he's
my
here,
laptop.
but next time, there's no hybrid.
That's Ken. Ken is the one I let in. He's been the one that's been putting up the plans.
So next time, if it's not a hybrid meeting, he's not here, so the applicant gonna have to do that.
So,
Or we have to have our computers.
or the town will buy us, like,
No. No.
no?
The town already did buy enough
iPads,
tablets for everybody
something?
to have a tablet here. And, I'll make my comment on that
You
right
did-
now while it's brought up, and I'll try to make my story short, even though I have a story for everything. My first laptop computer was a 386. It cost me almost $8,000, including a nice fancy leather bag and everything to carry it around, and I was gonna go out and I was gonna impress people. And I walked in with that laptop and I was ready to impress them, and they were so enamored with that laptop that I never got a chance to make my presentation. Blew the whole meeting right out the window, and I learned right then and there, you know, there's nothing wrong with the old method. That's my first comment on that. My second comment on that is, when they hand us a folder like this, and we have everything, you can choose to be, you know, you can look at the papers, and you can shuffle through them, and you can scribble. When you get a person that's very adept at using a computer, they may find that laptop very convenient. And if you have another board member that's not adept at it, and he's forced to use it, it could slow the meeting down quite a bit.
All right, I'm gonna cut you short a little bit here, Jim.
I'd say let's take it.
I hear you clearly, and what I will say is, because when I'm in my office, I am 100% on my computer, like, all day long with everything. However, the sizes, I think, of the plans that we have don't have to be to scale. We usually have all these huge plans to scale that are difficult for us to turn and everything else. Maybe we could reduce it. No, we don't need a laptop. What I'm saying is, there's an 18 by 20, is it 18 by 24 set of plans, right?
You could do
That would be, like,
You do 11.
Had a few tonight.
we've had a few tonight.
That's what they're supposed to
Which is a
supply.
grace.
The rules say that they give us 8.5 by 11s, and the big one, they only have to give us
But the
one.
town recycled the paper, it's not like they put it in the trash.
It's hard to open those big plans. We're hitting our
These are nice
microphones.
ones, there's project like these, no big deal, but when
Yeah.
you have, for instance, surgery, it'll be nice to have the big plans with the scale and all that.
I would personally appreciate it, microphones a bit less, but that's just me.
All right, Settlers Glen, are you the, oh, you're the onset water commissioner?
So he's here because Settlers Glen is on, and so we said we'd do it at the end, and here we are, we're at the end. It's time to recall them.
Okay, but we could argue what we already know what they want.
Yeah, but the guys
Do you wanna
here-
come forward? We already know what's the issue. Just give us your name and address for the record.
You want this?
Dave Halberstadt, Water Commissioner, Onset Water Board.
All right, so we do understand that we grant the applicant a permit based on the old fees, and you guys not agreeing to it.
Yeah, we don't agree you have that right.
We're
And
not gonna argue this.
No, and I
Let
don't-
let the judge argue this.
I am not here to argue.
Right. Let me explain something to you.
Yes, sir.
You cannot impose to us what we do or we don't, and we cannot make you give him water. Do you understand?
We
We
understand
do our job as a board that acts on 40B. We are the granting authority for water, sewer, everything. That's what 40B says. However, you don't have to give it to them. He has to go to court, and he has to fight you. I don't know what the consequences it would be.
No, the only reason I'm here tonight is I saw it was on the,
Right.
your
You just said,
agenda.
I better be there.
And I was at home and saw that you changed the format.
Right.
So I rushed over. And a little bit of history, and I won't take long, it's late.
Take your time.
I've been on the Board of Water Commissioners for 2 years, and the first time I ever heard the term Settlers Glen was last August. And they may have done something 3 or 4 years ago. They haven't shown us what they did with anybody from the water department. There's nothing official in any of our records. And in August, we sent a letter which is in your files on,
Right.
on the website. And the last paragraph of it from one of their principals, Ivar Cole, said that they would agree to do whatever we request to get the water. And that was the last time they agreed to do anything. And I was, in September, named the liaison with Settlers Glen and shared with them, here is the pre-submittal stuff that had already been given to them in August. And I would say in October or somewhere in there, they sent a big package, Mr. O'Brien did, to the ZBA.
Right.
And much of what he put in as agreements were out of whole cloth. They did not come from any meeting that we were in, and they became sort of the baseline that everybody started to agree on or believe. And the only thing I would share with the committee or the board is we have tried everything to try to work with them. We have most recently sent a letter that I think was put up on your site this week. All they have to do is the pre-submittal work that everyone else has to do, make the corrections in their drawings that we request, and then we can sit down and negotiate. But they have since August, refused to do that, and never, once I said this is what you have to do, even though I'm the liaison, that was the last time I heard anything from Settlers Glen. Their attorney hasn't called, Mr. O'Brien hasn't called. They go around me hoping somebody will give them a different answer.
Right. I believe at the end it's about the dollar. I believe it's about the fees. I don't believe, so you tell, because.
I think it could be somebody choosing who they're gonna sue. That's what I think.
That's them.
Whether
But the
you or
standard,
us.
like.
Or both.
We, as a board, I know you disagree with it, under Chapter 40B, it's a little tricky. It's a long, long bylaw. It needs a lot, we understand very, very little of it. It needs a lot of lawyers to explain it. The 40B is the granting authority, whether you agree with it or not, that's fine. But the zoning board cannot give waivers on standards. So if you say, if your standards are to loop the water or put 5 hydrant, he has to comply with it. Same with building codes. We give him a permit to build 20 units. We can't tell him you could use 2x4s because that's a building code.
We agree totally with you.
Right.
On that point. And earlier this evening, you made the point on somebody else who was sitting here that if that changed 2-3 years ago, this is what's in place today, and you have to deal with it. And I just did a
That's a little different. That's their case. It's been wrong all along. I disagree.
No, but
besides the point, I think it's about the money Bottom
But
line,
I did a property, and I actually had to come before the board. We had a stop permit thing at 6 West Boulevard. Talking to our electrician, from the time the plans were done and approved, there was then a requirement that in all of your houses, I'm sure you
Right.
would agree, anywhere near water, you have to have a ground fault outlet.
right,
The new law says the whole panel has to be ground fault.
Everything.
Whether it works or not, and it doesn't, and it costs a ton of money. But
Extras.
I had to pay for it, and he had to put it in if we were gonna get our
right.
occupancy
That's
permit.
cool.
And that is very similar. They don't like it.
No, I totally agree. I will never agree, personally, I'm sure the board will agree with me. I would never agree to not follow your standard. Like I said, looping the water, adding hydrant. I would never vote against this. So if you guys, your standard is looping the water, I totally agree, and I'm sure the board agrees to loop. The only thing is, we acted upon the fees that when the application was approved.
It has not been. We don't get to a point of negotiating anything or deciding what the fees are until all of the pre-submittal work has been done. And that hasn't changed from 2 years ago or a year ago or last August.
They've never sent any pre-submittal work?
They are, if you go back and read what they have said and sent to you, in Mr. O'Brien's letter, he says, we've done everything, but we refuse, if that's maybe a paraphrase, but we refuse to put in a looped system.
But my question...
That's him. We require it, so he's got to do it.
My question is, have they submitted any plan? Have they submitted a plan that's different from the one you want?
But not meeting our requirements, yes.
So they're submitting a plan
That meets
based on
their-
what they believe was approved?
No.
Based what they believe it's right.
What they believe is right.
So they changed it from what was approved and went a little bit further? They embellished it a little bit, they tweaked it?
They took, I think, in January, you had a couple of meetings.
Yep.
And at some point between January and now, you said, you
guys bring it to the
feel
street
that
and
we
then-
should charge them only the previous
Right.
charges, and they should only bring it to a certain place. But that is not.
No, I don't believe we did this. I think
Yes,
We did.
yes, we
We
did.
did.
And I do
And-
not think that we can tell onset what to charge and when to charge, nor can onset tell us what to do.
And
So
we're not
that's
trying
my
to tell you.
feelings on this whole thing.
If I could tell
Did
you.
that-
We
did
don't
I-
have a right to tell anybody about their water. They have the jurisdiction over the water.
Right.
This
We-
is what
we're
we're
not-
talking about, and you, on the meeting, it was said that they go back to the original
Price.
price.
Right, not
But
the
I-
standards.
but they-
I didn't say.
But
cha-
there was a question of the standards, because they made several statements that the standards were not in writing.
It doesn't, no,
So,
let's go back. Let
can't
me
have
go back.
arbitrary
I
standards.
did not, I know for a fact, I did not approve with not a loop system.
And what they have sent to us, their engineer and our engineer have been talking since August. At one point, their engineer, when we required, and our engineer, Mr. Osborne, told them, you have to have a loop system for us to evaluate whether we can supply the demand that you're
But you
gonna
want to
have.
do the modeling.
Right.
Right.
Okay? And he said, I've been told I cannot do that.
Well, we didn't tell him that
No,
about
no,
loop.
but his boss did. So,
The engineer, the person that's paying the engineer told him not to draw it.
that is correct.
That's his problem.
So-
All
and
what I
the
could
only
tell you.
reason I'm here tonight, it sounded like you're gonna vote on something,
No.
and if
We
you're not,
can't
let's
vote
all
on
go
an-
home and have a drink or
Sir,
have
this
dinner.
shouldn't even be here because this been done.
Well, that's.
It don't matter,
surprised
it
was
don't
on the
matter if we
agenda.
say charge $1 million or $1, don't mean nothing.
No, I only was interested because I saw it on the agenda.
Right, I know, I was surprised
And
it's
I don't know
coming
why,
before
because
us.
the email chain that you finished, with the question from Ken, which is, there's nothing further to do, it's up to them if they want to sue.
Can I,
Yeah.
maybe you can answer this question, but I'm trying to think about what was decided on this, and there was a discussion about loop, and then not having a loop because it's not a big project, and then 2 connections or something at the road, And this board did make a decision on how that was gonna go, but that was based on the applicant stating that there was nothing in writing, and nobody
Because
just
we weren't given.
said it was.
Because we are not a town
Or-
board, we're not given notice of these meetings. That's one of the issues. We don't fall under the town of Wareham.
Your rep was here when these statements were made.
Sam, what's his name?
I'm trying to remember, the
Jimenez?
younger guy, he's.
Dave Candias.
Dave
Dave
Candias.
Candias and I were at that meeting. We said no, but somewhere during that meeting, you changed your minds and you voted that. It was totally different from what you had discussed in the previous meeting.
We voted that you have to give him water, and we voted on the old fees. Now, the standard, he cannot, we can't, all right, let's put it this way. Let's say we said, no, you can't loop the water, but if your standard are like this, he has to follow the standard, just like a building code. If we say, okay, don't put a egress window, the building commissioner says no, he's gonna say, no, you need an egress window. So the commissioner stands. All what we do, grant a permit to a 40B, 20 units exist. How to build it, how to make the water, how to do the sewer, that becomes each department what they require. As a stand, we can't tell you what to do or nothing. We can't make any of this happen. All what we do, grant the permit for these units to exist, end the story. Everything else falls under the jurisdiction. In paying the money, same like building fees, we could easily say this board can grant a permit that he doesn't have to pay for building permits. We could do this, and it stands.
No, I understand that.
Right.
But just very quickly, the water main also goes down Cranberry Highway. Say, for instance, that part of Cranberry Highway was supplied by Buzzards Bay. You can't direct Buzzards Bay and tell them they have to do this, that, or the other thing. And
If it's in Wareham, yes, we can.
if it's Buzzards Bay, I would think you'd have a difficult time.
If it's the
directing
town
that-
of Buzzards Bay?
That is correct.
Right, well, his
They are
application has to
They
include.
are as independent of the town of Wareham as is the water department of Onset.
So why
And
is it,
what-
I have a question on that. I've always been curious about this, because I've heard this argument through the years. And the Onset Water District and Onset Fire District always say, we're autonomous, we have nothing to do with the town of Wareham.
Just as the Wareham Water and Fire are totally
And they
autonomous.
say, they say the same thing. Then I get my tax bill and it says real estate tax, district tax
And we
for
pay-
water and fire.
We pay the town of Wareham to send those bills out because it's more effective for us to pay them to set up our own system. We
Right.
pay them so that
So
they
you pay
send
them-
to send our bills.
Yeah, but if we could sit and argue this all night.
I
No,
don't
no,
want
I'm
to
just-
argue.
Right.
I'm just
You're not
curious.
voting, I want to go home.
Right, we're not voting,
Someone
and even if the gentleman
online-
was here, there's no vote. You need a public
There is someone
hearing.
online, yes, that wanted to speak.
The man you spoke of.
David?
David Can,
Candeas.
Candeas.
Yeah, he's the super.
He has his hand raised if you'd like to hear.
Okay, go ahead. Hi, David.
He's probably muted.
Yeah, he just has to unmute.
If you're talking, we don't hear you, David.
He's still currently muted.
Your mute button hasn't been turned off.
He's still currently muted.
He's currently muted. Is his hand still up? or-
think-
Yeah, his hand is still up.
The mute button at the bottom of the screen to the left, where is the mute button?
The mute button is
You
at the
do that
bottom.
all the time.
The bottom, you have to move your mouse to the bottom left-hand side of the screen, the bottom left-hand corner, and then it pops up.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, David, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, so I just want to quickly address a couple of points. Veronica, you did say something about an arbitrary decision for looping. It is not arbitrary. Bay Point Development has been building homes for many years now in Onset, and they have been required to loop their water main. Mr. O'Brien was involved in the permitting of Woodland Cove, which was back in 2018, I believe, before my time. He was made aware at that time that looping was required. He agreed to it. This is not arbitrary. Every single development, there are 4 in onset right now in different stages of completion, and all are required to loop, and all except for Settlers Glen have agreed to it, have shown it on their plans, and have paid connection fees on both ends of the connection. One thing that was said in one of the earlier meetings is that you didn't think he should have to pay the connection fee on the Cranberry Highway side. But then you, at the same time, said that you don't believe you should have the right to tell us how to implement our standards. So you can't have it both ways. If you're telling us that you can't tell us how to implement our standards, which says you can require looping, which we have required for many years, and our rules and regs are in the process of being updated. Unfortunately, they take a long time, and we want to be comprehensive. So those are not in writing yet. But if you're stating that you don't believe...
Just going to interrupt you for one moment. That's exactly was the point, that they're not in writing. And that's what I was trying to get clarification on. Those comments were made that there was nothing for them to address in writing, just like our bylaws or the building code is very clear. And I'm just saying that there was a question about that I think I was unclear on. It was never said, there was nothing that was ever said that here's the manual and here's where it says you have to loop. So to me, it should be just as clear as a building code or a bylaw. And it doesn't sound like it is.
That's not the standard used by water systems across the state of Massachusetts. The most lenient water development in this entire state of Massachusetts allows only 700 feet of main before requiring looping. Settlers Glen is about 1,200 feet. The most strict standards in Massachusetts are 400 feet, and then you must loop your main. So it has been an established policy of the Onset Water Department for a number of years that all developments have looped main. I have a very short 600 some odd, maybe 700 feet development that is putting in looped main. So it is a standard operating procedure for Onset Water Department. And again, we're really trying to determine that, first of all, we don't believe the ZBA has the right to grant or force us to make a water connection for development that has not met our standards in order for us to allow them to connect. So we're trying to determine that. I mean, we can haggle about the fees and how much you're allowed to waive and whether they should be given the old rates or the new rates. That can be a separate discussion. But what I thought was being resolved tonight was Settlers Glen was requesting that you grant a water permit and force the water department to grant them a connection, which we of course disagree with and will fight vigorously. So that's the thing tonight I thought was being resolved. We can get into the additional argument about waiving of fees, but again, if you've made the statement that you don't believe that you have the authority to tell us how to change our specifications and requirements, I find it odd that you would then say that you should be able to waive one of those connections and say, well, you shouldn't have to pay the connection fee on the one on Cranberry Highway. Well, again, without us collecting those connection fees, and remember the stated goal that I have as the superintendent of the water department is for the betterment, the protection, and the longevity and the resiliency of the drinking water supply for 5,000 plus residents. And this is about health and safety. So this is not about profitability. I understand that the profit margin for this quarter or for this year for a development is important, but it's not as important as the next century of water quality and infrastructure reliability of an entire community's water. We have to put it into perspective, and I understand completely the importance of making profit. I get it. I work in the private water industry as well. I work in the restaurant industry. I understand profit margins and the importance of it, but let's not lose sight of the
David, let me interrupt you. Let me ask you something. In our final vote, we said he needs to connect, he needs to loop it, but he doesn't have to pay the second looping fee, correct?
I don't even think we said...
Which we disagree with, but yes, you did say that.
We did say this. So
we disagree.
We went with your standard. That's your standard. The fees, as a board, I know you disagree, we can waive that fee. We're not the one who's going to make this argument. Let the housing chairman decide this if it goes to housing. But we did not undermine your standard. We told him in the permit, in the application, and in the approval that he has to loop, but not to pay. So we didn't mess with your standards, right?
He has yet to submit plans showing the loop.
No,
so that's why there's no reason to have
I'm not asking about him. Did we Did we go by your standard or not? Forget the fee.
You suggested that he just show it on the plans. You didn't necessarily say that he had to abide by our regs, but you said he should just show it on the plans. He said, I don't want to because then it means I have to do it, and we all agreed that that's true.
No, he has to follow your standard. The fees, let the housing chairman argue. We're not gonna argue the fees, but I make no mistake, the housing committee could be tough. Might goes there and might say, let's connect them for nothing.
Well, we're very comfortable with the law in that, but that's a different
Right,
issue.
that's a different issue.
I think we would like to have this project move forward because it would be good for the community. And we also would like them to recognize that we do it in a way that protects the community. And everything, if he would meet our pre-submittal requirements and get us proper plans so that we can evaluate with a water model what he actually has to do, we will do everything we can to keep his costs down and our costs down. But it's, how many meetings do we have to go where he says, I refuse to do anything?
Then he can't do it.
So we're not gonna connect any water, and that's where we are.
See, this hearing is useless, because it don't matter what we vote, it's useless. Whether we tell you to do it or not do it, or him, it don't matter, it's just like, just discussion. It need a major public hearing and re-amending the decision. That don't mean nothing.
This is no more enforceable than the guys at the
Nothing.
water fountain.
That's why I was surprised. I said, why is this person coming before us? But,
Surprised too.
I guess we're all adults, and he has to come in and see what you want, see what you guys decide.
I remembered it a little different.
How do you remember it?
I remembered it that Settlers Glen came in front of us, and as far as the water portion of it, they showed the water going down to the middle of the cul-de-sac and ending right there.
Right.
And that's what we voted on, because we said, as presented, and I believe that's what O'Brien's saying, that's what was approved. You guys approved this plan.
Right.
And then after that, this gentleman, David, was hired, and he said, that plan's no good, you haven't provided for a loop.
Right.
It's gotta be looped.
And he can.
And he can, I'm not saying he can't say that. So, I believe that this board voted for the development, but I don't believe that this board directed the water department what they had to do. What I believe is happening is that the developer is saying, you guys approved to the middle of the cul-de-sac, and now you're making us pay from the middle of the cul-de-sac out to the middle of Cranberry Highway. At some point, I believe the recommendation was made, and I don't believe it was an arbitration or an agreement. I believe the recommendation was made by one of the board members that the developer would bring from the center of the cul-de-sac out to the edge of Cranberry Highway along the same means of egress, or of access through an abutter's property where the sewer is going, to the edge of Cranberry Highway, but not under Cranberry Highway.
Did I say that?
And then the water department would take it from there and tie it into the main.
No.
As a suggestion.
That's actually what the developer requested, and we said we disagreed.
I didn't know who said it, I'm just, but I don't believe it was ever voted on. What we voted on was to approve the plan, period, and I believe the burden now is on, the zoning board is done with it. We've said, okay to the, they're arguing a different point on whether it's gonna be whether it's gonna be privately owned or rental property.
Right,
But that's another argument.
Let me give you a perfect example
We're
about
done with
standard.
it.
Right, but I want to make small example about standard. If this board or any board or any town say, okay, this is the plan of the water, that's mean the water is there, not the standards. Let me give you another example.
I get what you're saying, the
Say
standard.
the sewer, say the person with the sewer, like they came with the plan, okay, I want to put this plan, gravity to the pipe, to the main. So they make this gravity and they don't have enough pitch, they need a pump. So what they say, oh, you told me without a pump, I'm not putting a pump. It's not the standard. The standard and the design requires a pump, then you have to put a pump. So when we say according to plan, we do not impose standards. Same like I said, we see these beautiful houses and we see windows.
We're not saying
When
2
he
by
goes
4
to
or
the
2 by
building
6.
commissioner, he see these windows, he's gonna say, guess what? These are not egress, so they don't work. So, but yes, we said yes for the plan, but we don't impose the standard of the building department, nor the water, nor the sewer, or no conservation, all these. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I think it's just a matter of continuing to get people to talk in public so that they can say, this was said by this person, this was said by that person, muddy the waters, get it into court, create a very confusing situation, and then let lawyers make lots and lots of money, and this water department and the applicant are still gonna pay the same fees, and we're still gonna have the same size pipe, and it's still gonna be put in the same way. But
I believe the end of it would be, he has to adhere to the standards.
Yeah.
And the onset water department gonna have to adhere to the numbers of dollars we put. That's my opinion, if it ever goes further
it
than
goes,
that.
they're gonna just, yeah, but
I think that's enough for
Yeah.
tonight. You wanna say something else?
Not a word.
But like I said, no matter what we do, it don't mean, it's not enforceable.
this is like standing around the bubbler.
Right, exactly. Let's make a motion to adjourn.
So
It's
moved.
nice to meet all of you
Yeah.
in person instead of.
Exactly. Do we have a second on adjourning?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstain. We're adjourned. Thanks, Bob.
The things.